Show on Sports 1440.
Pretty good contact here as he hits it to deep right, and he's hit it out. Now that's a birthday present that George Springer just gave himself, and the Blue Jays have the early lead.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Howell slinging it to the ozone. Was it caught? Yes! McLaurin! Touchdown!
A tremendous Thursday afternoon. How are you? Welcome to the Jason Gregor Show. Sports 1440 presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Alberta's only regulated online gambling website. Though tonight, if you little prop bets you want, maybe. McCaffrey, how many carries? Over 17? Check it all out at PlayAlberta.ca. Giants, 49ers. Like everyone would think this is going to be a blowout, but you never know. You never know. That's why they play the game. So we'll see what happens. Training camps across the National Hockey League. You had veterans on the ice. In some cases, a few not on the ice. Ryan McLeod did not skate today. Don't expect him to skate for a bit. He's kind of suffering same thing as Echo, my understanding. Got a little bit of a tight hip flexor. So no McLeod. Jay Woodcroft session number 1 this morning was basically all the guys I think that are competing really for jobs. Now, I know Drake Kajula wasn't out there. He was in the second group, so I guess he would be the one guy. But Sam Gagne was out in the second group. Gagne, of course, isn't going to be ready to start the season for the Edmonton Oilers. Hello, if you're listening live on Sports 1440 or on Oilers Nation YouTube. Stop by, say hello, hit the subscribe button. Tomorrow we're giving away some tickets, so you'll definitely want to be there online. As we welcome into the show a little bit earlier, but that's okay. He's got a big fundraising event that he is going to tonight, so he's able to join us a little earlier on in the show. It's our daily Thursday co-host, former NHLer, former first-round selection. He's a 2-time author, soon to be 3. He's got number 3 in the works, maybe. Also, he stars in the TV show Shoresy as a Hitch. And we're inching closer. Next week is when Shoresy season 2 comes out. And you will see none other than Terry Ryan on the show. TR, how are you?
I'm all right. Good to be here. I was golfing all day. I don't golf. So it was great to see my buddies, though. And then after this, we're going back for the banquet. Yeah, I'm real bad, man. I was reminded how bad I am.
But here's the thing. If you never golf and you never practice, how do you expect, it's not a sport that you can just, you can go out, I'm sure you can make contact, but you're probably slicing it, or then sometimes you're duffing it. It's very much routine and rhythm, and obviously you have to get a good swing.
I have a lot of respect. It takes just to get up there every time takes a lot of concentration. I mean, I know I play sports. You would think, you can get up there if I, go to hit a slap shot, or, it's normally going to be, it might miss the net, but it's going to be a good shot. I get up there and sometimes I hit it and it goes one way, the other. Well, I'm just explaining what a lot of people go through when they golf, I suppose. But I mean, it's for a game that looks, not going to say easy, but easier than other things. It's just so far off to me how the difference between the pros and the good players and then chumps like me.
Yeah. So, you have a little bit of fun on the course. It's for charity, so that's all that matters. But would you ever get into golf, do you think, or is it just not something that interests you?
When I get out there, I enjoy it, seeing my buddies, and it's usually that environment. And I think it's relaxing for the mind. It's real chill. Get out there, you go for a walk, you're outdoors. There's a lot good about it, but so many things in summer come before that for me.
Yes.
That I think it's just going to continue to be. That was my 3rd time out this summer, and each one was a charity event.
Okay, well, that's fair, though. That's fair. That's, you know what? If you don't golf, you don't golf. There's nothing wrong with it. Not everybody's into it. It can be frustrating. It's a little bit slower of a game, too. So it depends. Yeah, it's all on priorities. I had a stretch where I golfed quite a bit. Then I had my son, and I just didn't have the time and didn't really have the interest. And Now he's 9. Last summer he golfed a little bit. Didn't golf as much this year, but we did go to the driving range more this year. He just wants to hit the ball, which is okay. Like I never picked up golf till I was like in my 20s, I think. So, I'd like him to go and he likes it. My wife actually is she's going golfing tomorrow. She's kind of being hit in the range a little bit. I think that, you know what, if she wants to go and he wants to go, then I'd definitely do it more. Like my favorite part about golf, Tara, is when you're hanging out with the guy. I like the chirps. I play way better when I'm chirping. Like we're not serious golfers, like God love them, but no thanks for me. That's not, I'm not that good. And most of the guys I golf with aren't that good. And even if you are a 5, right, or 6 handicap, I'm like, yeah, great. Like you're playing around. It's not like you're not going on tour. So no real reason to get that serious. It's like the guy.
Yeah. Like if I'd want to be good. If I put any time in, I'd want to be good. And I think I'm so far off that, I play a lot of ball hockey still. My daughter, right? I mean, my daughter's mom lives in Calgary. She's coming home soon. She's lived there for a couple of years. So, take 4 or 5 hours out of the day. And it's not just that. It was always skating or I like going. I really, this is going to sound odd, I suppose, but I like going camping sometimes on my own. I'll take my mountain bike. I got one of those, it's a backpack type pop-up tent. Yeah. I'll often take a bike. I mean, even during the day, not even overnight sometimes, just pop the tent up somewhere. I enjoy doing that and getting, free of my phone for a few hours. Golf sort of does the same. You're out there for a walk. It's relaxing for the mind. Even sometimes to see your buddies, but not too many, right? You don't see a bunch of people. It's not this crazy situation. It's usually just a nice conversation. If the weather's great, bonus. But like I said, so many things come before it that I think it'll always be a light pastime at best.
That's fair. So training camp begins today across the NHL. McLeod and Ekholm are out. Matthias Ekholm said, if this is a regular season, I just play through it. It's training camp. He's got a little bit of tightness in the hip flexor. And if you Google hip flexors for hockey players, lots of guys seem to have tightness in it. Those are established guys. Well, Ekholm for sure. Ryan McLeod, I think most people have him, in pen as the third line center to start. So those guys can afford to be out a week and then, they'll be up to speed. No problem, I think, by the start of the regular season. But you know what, the excitement there, a Brandon Sutter, for instance, of course, you played in Red Deer. Brandon Sutter has been out for 2 years. He kind of gave us a little bit of an explanation about his kind of what he went through with long COVID. And it really, his long COVID says it has nothing to do really with the virus. It's his immune system. Like he just had shortness of breath for a long time. It really like kind of nerve wracking and scary. And he wasn't able to be, in his words, even a normal father or husband. And so he's happy to be that. And then, starting in July, he's really been able to skate hard for the last few months and says he feels better all the time. That excitement level of training camp. And, he joked that he feels like a rookie because he's been 2 years since he's been at a camp. But, there's just something about the first day, right? Now, talk to them in 10 days and they're like, oh, my God, and the agony. Let's get to the start of the season. But the first few days are pretty exciting. There's a lot of jump with the group.
Yeah, and it's a feeling, there's a whole lot. There's that October's right around the corner. The fall is just beginning. I kind of like the fall, and you're reminded that the summer's laid back tendencies. They're packed up. They're in a box. It's all good. We've had a great time. Now, even summer sports, baseball are going into playoffs. But the day that camp opens, to a hockey fan, even to a player, like I remember going to camp, and there's lots of reasons that you're like, okay, back to work, but tongue in cheek, you're looking at each other. You're happy to see the guys again. And there's something healthy about the competition. I think most people that go, there is really something healthy about it, even though you're competing against your buddies. I really enjoy that about hockey. I remember being excited about it, and most people to be able to get along, and you're all vying for positions that it hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars around the line, but you come together and you're still buddies, and there's a pecking order and a hierarchy kind of with the leaders and everything, and it's I think it's a symbiotic relationship with the fans too. The fans get to watch and get to experience it and, have their opinions. I think it's a healthy time of year for hockey. And by the way, you mentioned Sutter. I got to say, the more I think about it, he's got a reputation of working real hard, if we know anything about him. Yeah. And, so I don't know. And he's young enough. He's not spring chicken, but I think the 2 years, I don't know if there's anybody that can do it. I'm kind of excited about him being there, to be honest. I'm glad you brought him up. I was going to bring it up myself.
Well, you know what? On paper, he's what they want. Him and Lane Peterson, of course, a younger guy who I think last year kind of figured it out. Like, he had 17 goals in 18 AHL games. Like, when you're a goal a game guy in the American League, you can probably say, hey, I think I'm good enough for this league. Now can I go to the NHL? And obviously, he's not going to be a scorer. He's not going to be put in those situations in the National Hockey League. But, he's in tough because he has a contract that is league minimum. Sutter has a PTO, doesn't have a contract, but he has the resume. Right. He's got the 10 years as an NHL player, all those games. And so I do. It's human nature. I think you try as hard as you can as the coaching staff and everybody to go in and say, okay, we're going to watch preseason. But like, Peterson's likely going to have to really outshine Sutter to beat him out, because if Sutter signs a contract, Lane Peterson just goes to the minors and it doesn't impact the Oilers salary cap in any fashion. It's just another contract, and they have boatloads of contracts on the 50-man roster, right? So, like, did you think about that as a player? Like, everybody says, oh yeah, you know what, do your best. But sometimes you're like, yeah, I do my best, but still there is sometimes where you're at a disadvantage.
Oh, 100%. I know. I won't name names at all. And look, I know deep in my heart that there were situations that I got sent down to Fredericton. Not just me. I'm not. This isn't a tripping over my lip here. It happened. There was, a bunch of us. We had some great prospects down there, and there was guys. I mean, the Habs didn't make the playoffs 2 of the 3 or 4 years that I was there. So, I mean, you can do the math. But yeah, you feel that. But there's also something to it, though. I also understood that there is something called experience. Like, if you're the Oilers, especially, right? Like, Sutter really fits. Like, if he plays good, he really fits. This is a team that's going for the Stanley Cup or bust. So to add a guy who already has played and is proven and is hungry, I don't know. Like, and Peterson will have time. I'm not saying that he won't play way better, but for me, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And, Sutter was in that position himself years ago.
Yeah, for sure. Terry Ryan joins me, Jason Gregor, on the Gregor Show on Sports 1440, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. You can get involved. You can text us in our Jiffy Lube inbox to 833-401-1440. 833-401-1440 is the text line. You can always email us, Gregor at sports1440.ca. Connor, 2 N's, 2 O's at sports1440.ca. Doesn't like it if you spell it with an E, okay? No E in Connor for him anyway. He's a double O, double N type of guy. We have a few texts coming in already. Hey, guys, I was curious if Terry has any ideas on nowadays the game's change. It's not as physical. If you are an aggressive player, how do you get noticed if fisticuffs really aren't an option? That one comes in from Steve.
Well, first of all, they still are, though, right? Like, we say that the fighting's gone out of the game, and there's like 300 last year, right? If you compare any other sport, they would think our conversation right now is insane. They'd say, what? What? Yeah. There's hundreds of fights in your sport. What are you talking about? So first of all, there are, and I think you can still time it. There's a lot less for good reason, right? I'm not so old school that I think, it was great in the 90s. It's the way we should keep it. But it's a physical sport. You got a weapon in your hand. There's no out of bounds. There's heavy hits. There's protection. There's on-ice police, whether you like it or not. So it'll always be part of it. But camp especially that's becoming more and more of a no-no. You're going, I never could understand that. We used to have the meeting at the start. Okay, guys, we don't want you fighting each other. But then you knew as soon as the puck dropped, back in the day, right? It was going to be, you're right. And there was no limit on it. Like, you could, I remember when I was trying to make a name, like you said, for these guys, I went over, I figured it was my last shot because I got injured there in Dallas, but I fought John Erskine 6 times one day. I just picked up my gloves and put them back on. You don't even go to the box, man. And he was kind of calling my bluff. He was beating me, but I wouldn't go down. He got upset. But that was the way it was then. Like, if you even ever drop your gloves, you're doing it in camp a lot. But now it's changed, and again, for a good reason. But you can still be tenacious. I think there's still tough guys out there. It's just a different kind of tough guy. Then when you get out on that ice and you put that puck in the corner and someone comes in, there's a lot of guys now that don't. Well, let's just say back in the day, I thought Peter Forsberg was really tough. I really did. I played against him one time, like on the ice. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He was first on the puck every single time. He would outmuscle you. He would block shots. He would do it. The only thing he didn't do was drop his gloves. But I mean, how can I say he's any less tough the whole game and then have to be in great shape and be out there and still doing that? And guys who get 1 or 2 shifts, the prototypical tough guy, that are taking shots to the face for 13 seconds. You know, what's level of tough is there? So I think if you just go out and show absolute spunk, and there's ways to do it. There's ways to, without brown nosing, grease up a coach. Get out, be first in line every time. Have a question after the drill. Okay, maybe that's brown nosing a little bit, but, you know, have a make sure you're vocal. People hear you. Be there. That's doing everything you can possibly do. After that, hey, cookie's going to fall where it is, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair. Mike, who's watching on our Facebook page, Oilers Nation. Great to see you, Terry. I grew up playing with you in minor hockey back in Newfoundland. You were a heck of a player. Mike from Clarenville. Where's Clarenville?
Clarenville, I tell you, is about an hour and a half outside of St. John's. It's close to Bonta Vista, where Adam Party, Michael Ryder are from.
Okay.
So I played, actually, I mean, we did play minor hockey out there against Clarenville. It's a very well, for the size of Clarenville, I'm guessing 5,000 or 6,000. It's well represented hockey-wise locally. And like I said, those guys played in Clarenville. But I played senior hockey there just a few years ago. We lost in the Allen Cup final in overtime to Dundas, who hosted Jay McKee and Dundas Real McCoys. And they won. Clarenville won an Allen Cup in 2010. It's a great place to play senior hockey. Senior hockey goes over real well here because out around those places that are a little bit far out of the, you know, it's really something to do. There's imports that fly in. There's payroll. It's wild. But anyway, Clarenville's an awesome hockey spot.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. Hey, boys, this comes from Kevin. Who do you think are the top two candidates for the last spot, in your opinion? Kev, it's a good question. Honestly, I still think it's Brandon Sutter just because he's a right shot center. You know, he's 6'2", 6'3". He can win faceoffs. He can kill penalties. He crosses off all the dots. You know, he says he's in good shape. Obviously, we need to see it. The only question is, how fast is he, right? Can he play with pace? And you know what? I asked him about that today, and he just said, you know, when he had those first captain skates, he's like, oh my goodness. The first day, I thought there was like 20 guys on the ice. Everything was coming at you so fast. When you don't play for a while, like, yeah, your instincts are there, but you just forget how quick it is. And he said for him, it was great to get in camp early and do those skates for 2 weeks. And so today he was on the ice. And today, Jay Woodcroft, it was unique what he did. I think he knows, like everybody knows, who's going at. So what did he do? He had McDavid's line, which was Kane and Brown, and Draisaitl's line, which was Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. They were in the white jerseys. And then you had basically like the guys who are battling for lines 3, 4, and 5. And today Peterson was taking McLeod's spot. He was with Fogle. Then you had, Lavoie was out there. Sutter was out there. He was with Holloway. And guess what? They started a little scrimmage, kind of. You had blue versus white. So Sutter's going out there against McDavid's line or Draisaitl's line. Because if you want to see how these guys are, Terry, you can see a little bit in practice as much as in the preseason game, because when you got to try to, even if it's a 1-minute defensive zone drill against McDavid, coaches are going to see that. They'll see how Sutter reacts there. Now, I know McDavid's not going 100%, but he's probably going about 97 or 98 because he wants to get in his pace up to where it's supposed to be.
Definitely. I always thought, I mean, there's a lot to see in practice, I think. You know, when you're out there, it's funny, as a player, you're not thinking it. Sometimes I'd go out there and think, in my own head, I'm warming my legs up for the game. But there's always eyes on you, right? And you're right. If some young guy challenges, you know, I don't know, again, when I played Saku Koivu, you know, I just found him so unbelievably agile that, you know, you'd know immediately that, okay, this kid can handle that. Now let's see what it's like in a game situation. But I think it can tell a lot. And as far as the players, I'd like to see what Holloway can really do. I'd love to see that. And I think there's a lot more player to come out. The more confident he got at times last year, I was extremely intrigued. And he reminds me a little bit of me, and that he shoots left. He's a forward. He's had some great preseasons and, you know, never really taken off. And a lot of that's injury. I get it. But listen, I got a question about Sam Gagner. So is he still on a PTO, yet he can't play preseason? So are they really?
No. Yeah, he could play. Well, yeah, like he can't because his hips aren't ready yet. So what's going to happen with him is he's going to go down to the Bakersfield camp and just continue skating with them, essentially. And so I think it changes from a PTO. I think if you're in Bakersfield, I think it's an ATO. I just think it's a different amateur tryout, if I'm not mistaken.
Isn't that a bit? I mean, you know, so if he goes to Bakersfield, that's not real. That's not seeing what he can do in the NHL still, though. So he's starting real late, like when these guys are at camp.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I could. So is he looking at an AHL 2A? Or
Might be. Yeah, I think that ideally, yeah, he's just going to want to get up to speed. And I think if we're being realistic now, you look at Sam Gagner and maybe he becomes an option in late November, right? Once he
Okay.
gets up to speed and everything like that, and maybe even later. So yeah, he's kind of taken himself out of the equation to be here to start the season for the Edmonton Oilers, just because his hip's not 100% ready yet to get into game and contact action. So there you
okay,
go.
I just wasn't sure. I saw
Oh,
that
yeah.
he wasn't listed, and I was curious. But anyway, to answer that, yeah, my two would be Sutter and Holloway.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get to Ryan's rant and more on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, coming to you live in the EWEL studio, EWEL.ca.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is sounding the call. Don't struggle.
Keep on turning.
Welcome back. Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440. A lot of texts flying in. 833-401-1440 is where you can get involved in the show. Also online, if you're watching on YouTube at Oilers Nation, you're there. And if you're there, hit the subscribe button. A lot of questions coming in. Hey, boys, I'm curious, what's your thoughts about the hiring of Parkatti? Do you think it's going to be as massive of an improvement as some are suggesting? That one comes in from Dale. It's a good question, Dale. I'll say that I think analytics are important. Now, the Oilers had an analytics department. Was it as in-depth as other ones? Did they have an Eric Tolsky? No, that's totally fair. They didn't. But, Dave Tippett was big into analytics. Jay Woodcroft is, right? So, they had analytics. Can you improve it? 100%. It's like some people will have a better head coach. Everybody has a head coach. Some have better head coaches, right? The Oilers had an analytics department. Probably wasn't as deep or as good as others. I think that's fair. Now, does getting Parkatti mean, the Oilers are winning the cup? Of course not. All right? Because there's no guarantees. It's part of the equation. There's teams out there that have really deep analytics department. What have they won? Some of them haven't won a playoff round. Right? Some of them don't make the playoffs continually. So it's part of the equation. It's not the do-all, end-all. When I look at the Oilers under Ken Holland, I'd say he's made way more good decisions than bad decisions. Right? And keep in mind, and this is it's a very small vocal group. So I want to clarify that. There's lots of people who understand analytics who don't jump into the deep end of the lunacy when it comes to analytics. I just want to clarify that. There's a small minority there. Oh, Ethan Bear's great. Ethan Bear, I don't care what analytics tell you. Ethan Bear, all you got to do is look at the results. Ethan Bear is not the answer to what the Oilers need. Full stop. He isn't. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. He's not what they need. Because if you look at third pair defensemen, because that's what Ethan Bear is on a good competitive team. If he's in your top four, your team is not going to be contending for the cup. Because he's not elite offensively, he's not elite defensively, and he's 5'10". It just doesn't work. Right? And then if you go to third pair and defensemen, then you got to have guys who are on the penalty kill and usually bigger bodies. That's just the makeup. I don't make the rules. That's just if you look at cup contending teams, that's what they have. Right? Very few, or their third pair guy might be a power play specialist, somebody who brings a lot of offense. So you could like Ethan Bear, but there were people that said Ethan Bear made Darnell Nurse better because of what the analytics told him. Right? It's like Jesse Puljujärvi. He's the best option they had. Incorrect. Okay. And that's where I think analytics gets a bad rap because some of the vocal people think that's an fair representation of analytics. And it isn't. Parkatti was never in that category. I've had great conversations with Michael over the years. Super smart guy. I think he's going to be a very good hire. They're going to introduce some different things to the analytics department that they didn't have, and it should help. But you can have good analytic guys. Doesn't mean you have success. It's one part of the equation. So, no, I don't think that, snap your finger. Now they got Parkatti. Plan the parade. Yesterday, people thought the Edmonton Oilers were a legit Stanley Cup contender. They are one today, right now. And, we'll see how it impacts. Like, they didn't use analytics to acquire Nick Bjugstad at the deadline. Worked out. They didn't, if they didn't have the analytics department that you claim, they went and got Ekholm at the deadline. That seemed to work out. So, it's not like, they've been walking around in the desert blindfolded, having no idea where they're going. So I do think analytics is important. I just don't want to overrate it. Just like I wouldn't overrate toughness. I wouldn't overrate other aspects. You have to have different dimensions on a team to win on the ice and off the ice. But, it's something that, it can't hurt. That's what I'll say. And I think it's probably going to help in certain departments, no question. It'll unveil things and it's going to create some conversations. And you know what? He'll be able to present some data and look at, and I think for specific matchups sometimes based on what another team does and what their tendencies are, that's where it potentially could help. But nobody knows for certain how much they were doing under the Mahi brothers, right? You don't know. You're all guessing. I'm even guessing because they don't tell you right? It's not like you sit down, they're going to tell you this is exactly what we're doing, right? So you don't know. Did they have guys with his background as in depth as Tolsky and others? No. So I think bringing in Parkati will help them. No question.
What do I think? I think it's, I don't want to say something too obvious here, but I guess I will. It's not the analytics so much as like how you use them, I guess. Like I really don't know enough about it. I can tell you who I think is a good coach or from what the data, ironically, tells me. I read articles, watch TV, try to keep up to date. Someone tells me, some people go too far into it, and it'll really tell you that on the third Tuesday of each month, this particular player excels way above average. And to me, that's just fluke. I don't know. I can't see how that would help, but there are people that delve right into it so far that, you've lost all sense of emotion in the equation. So I'm like you. Look, I'll have to trust it. I wish if there's one thing that I cannot rate all the analytics guys around the league, well, if there's one thing I can't do, that's it. Because I just don't know enough about what it takes to be a great analytics team. I know analytics are important. We've always kept data, right? The way we used to do it on the junior bus was open it up and read the hockey news stats at the back of the hockey news. You would always keep track of data somehow. So there was analytics driving each and every fan and player. But it's just how you use them, and I don't know enough about it. I assume that, given his track record, what's his name again? Parketti?
Right? Michael Parketti.
Michael Parketti, he sounds great. So you got to have it. And it sounds like they have a good one or a team of them. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And, it would be unique to state, well, who do you think is the best? Because here's the thing. You don't 100% know unless you talk to each individual one and say, okay, what was your recommendation? Did the GM listen to this one? Because I'll say this about Carolina. I know for a fact that Tolsky put in they thought Scott Darling was going to work out. Guess what? It didn't work out. Now, there's lots of non-analytics free agent signings that get signed, right? People thought at the time that Benoit Pouliot was one of the greatest free agent signings ever. Didn't work out, right? Guess what? That was based a lot on analytics. So some work out. Then there's lots of free agent signings. We can go through Lucic. We can go through Okposo. We can go through a lot of other ones that weren't based on it as much. And guess what? They didn't work out. So nobody has a perfect track record. No GM, no coach, no player, no radio sports host, no former player. Nobody does. So it would be an interesting discussion. But the truth is, unless you actually were able to get the facts from each individual organization, okay, did you make this move based on a strong recommendation? Okay, maybe. Then we'll see. Does it work out? Did it not work out? That's going to be a difficult one to really muster. I will say this, and if you talk to Parkati, he and the Oilers have been talking for a while. He won a contest that they had a while ago, and so the conversations has been going on. It's not like now he got hired now, right? So obviously Jeff Jackson maybe stronger influence to make it happen. Totally fair. But it's funny. And, I know Parketti has a lot of friends around Edmonton. If you ask them, they've had conversations off and on here for the last 18 months. I'd love to know, what was the deciding factor now that made it work. And so we'll go from there. Let's get to Ryan's rant now, brought to you by Action Electrical. Family-run business celebrating 50 years. They just want to thank all of their suppliers, all of their customers, for continuing to put faith in them. actionelectrical.net. Here is Ryan's rant.
I just had another idea that could be a rant. I guess remind me of that later. And it has to do with analytics and how people absorb them. But this is, I guess, not so much of a rant as a comment and an observation. Tell me what you think here. Like I said, I got into football the last few years, and I try to keep up to date with players, teams, systems. I find it really hard. That's one of the things I love about it, is that there's so many options and, so much thinking goes into the systematic play of the game. So as I'm watching recently, though, one thing that, the players' energy, I love it, but I can't understand, put it this way. If I'm playing hockey, and obviously if I score a goal and I celebrate, I'm happy about the goal. Unless I do something really crazy to embarrass the other team, it's cool. I can celebrate. It's cool. if I made a hit at center ice and celebrated after that, now I'm taunting the dog a little bit. Now I'm kind of putting my own teammates in a bad position. If I make a good pass and celebrate, that would seem utterly ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But we've gotten to a point in football that it's acceptable to celebrate a third down, celebrate a hit on a third down in a 28-3 game. I don't understand it. I don't know when it got there. I know the legends of the past, but I didn't always consistently watch football. But when I watch those old school games in like 1970, I like to watch anything like that for the historic element alone. And even the 80s doesn't seem like it's there quite as much. Now, like everything else, I'm assuming it came in with the social media era, and a lot of people are doing it for the gram. But for me, if I'm a teammate, I don't know if I jive with that. It's just like any other sport. I'm trying to think. If it's 5-0 in soccer and I make a nice pass, even not only a goal, that would be a bad time to celebrate, because you're losing and you don't want to, you're just celebrating your own personal selfishness. But I don't get it how now we're not even doing it on it's not even the touchdowns. We're talking about third downs and second downs early in the game when your whole team can pay the penalty for that, right? If I get in your face and I celebrate and it's 13 minutes into the first quarter, now the whole game is there for the tide to turn the other way. I just find it silly. And am I just old school here, Jason, or what do you think of that situation?
Buddy, it's an interesting question because I was watching it the other day. Now, you know what? It's kind of like a random first down in the second quarter of a 7-3 game. And, they got the hand out and they're pointing. Sometimes they're getting down on one knee.
I just find it silly.
And so I'm kind of torn because I feel like, we don't celebrate enough in life. A lot of times, at least.
Wow, you're going deep with it. Okay, in life. Okay,
because we don't, like, when you think about it, something good happens. It's got, well, geez, you don't want to say too much about it, and so, because you never know when you're going to have another good thing. But in football, like, you're Tyreek Hill, you're going to get another catch maybe a minute later, right? So, do you have to celebrate everyone? I don't know. It does seem like it's gotten a little bit much. Right? Like hockey doesn't have it because you don't really celebrate a great shot that doesn't score, right? Now, if you have a big hit, the crowd gets into it, right? Guy, your bench is like, yeah. But when the guy hits him, it's not like he jumps up and he's like, woo, right?
No, but what if he did? It's the equivalent of if he did.
Jeez.
What do you do? Wouldn't you think that's nuts? And fighting or no fighting? There could be no fighting. Someone is jumping off the bench to get that guy. I just think as much as it looks, I don't know, weird and in an odd way egotistical and selfish. I mean, that's part of the game, I guess, now. But I find it puts your team in a bad position because I'd want to cream you, man. I'd want to get up and absolutely put you into next year on the net. And, you're setting yourself up and your teammates for maybe karma to go the other way, no?
Potentially, or what if it rattles you even more? And now Terry Ryan's on his next shift and all he's trying to do is headhunt. And now you're taking a stupid penalty because I've gotten in your kitchen. Right.
True.
So, it depends. Like, I will say, I look at the guys in the NHL now who are like big open ice hitters, right? Radko Gudas can lay guys out a little bit. Lyubushkin, and they're funding both in Anaheim now. If one of them, like, think back to the old days, Scott Stephen, Brian Marchman, Craig Muni, pick other guys that were big hitters, and they rock a guy at the blue line, and then they did a little dance. I think the home crowd or the fans of the Oilers love it for the most part, and the fans of the other team hate it. So if it actually brings more animosity to the game, I think I might like it.
Interesting. That's an interesting take. And you know what? Maybe I do sound like an old fogey, and I won't.
I can get it, but I'm just saying, I'd have to see it to think, and now I'm intrigued. I'm like, God, I'd like someone to do it because the reaction, but if it heightens the intensity in a game in November or December, I'm all for it because I do think at times hockey now, there's stretches where it's like a no-hitter. It's like ping pong. They're going back and forth. And it's fast. There's not a whole lot going on sometimes. So I think conflict and animosity is what makes sports better, right? And it gets us more involved, right? Like, you get fans, when they dislike someone on the other team, now they're emotionally invested. You got them. It's no different than sports radio. Someone's texting in or, Terry Ryan, you're an idiot. Gregor, you're an idiot. Yeah, but we've got you engaged and you're listening. And even if you don't like it, what we're saying, you're still engaged.
Yeah,
And I think that's
you're not wrong.
yeah.
You're not
So,
wrong.
but
But the other thing I'll add about this football celebration, sorry, I cut you off there. Is I like hockey. You can like see the faces. Like I find it almost Again, I love football, but there's no like everybody. They look like a bunch of bobbleheads from the camera, like way back. So that also looks silly to me. Like when they're, I guess touchdowns are different, and who knows? I loved when who was it? Who was it? Terrell Owens took out the
he
pan.
ran and spiked it at center, and then he ate the popcorn. He had a few pretty good sellies there.
Well, the one I remember signing the ball.
Oh yeah,
remember he had a pen in his sock, ready for the touchdown. I believe. I didn't watch
the
football
guy
a
at
lot.
Winnipeg did it, and they overturned it, and it was a touchdown against. God, that was funny too. So
I don't mind that so much. It's a touchdown, but you know what? The more that we're having this conversation, the more I'm kind of siding with you. Of course, I don't know if as a teammate I'd love it, but other than that, everybody would
fair.
be.
You're right. You're right. Hey, the old fun sponge, Eric Belanger, didn't even like it when Yakupov slid on his knees to celebrate a tying goal with 2 seconds left. So there are a few fun sponges out there for sure. The old Bermuda, the old Belanger triangle. God, he was the worst. We'll come back. Ruben Bronte, speaking of nicknames, the Belanger triangle is pretty good. The human rake, Ruben Bronte. All pretty 3 good monikers. That was Ryan's Rant, brought to you by Action Electrical. We'll return on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Bringing every project to life requires the right team. By joining the Japa Machinery Group service or sales teams, you can be part of setting
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We've continued developing tools and are excited to announce our newest design, battery-powered nut runners. 4 models from 500 to 3,000 foot-pounds, with more on the way. Learn more at cantork.com.
on. We continue on a busy Thursday. Coming up later on today, Doug Waite will join us, former captain of the Edmonton Oilers. Recently announced yesterday, in fact, that he will be going into the Oilers Hall of Fame. So he was on the ice in San Jose today, but he will join us later on. And we might even we're probably going to have a special guest right after Doug Waite. I think you're going to want to hear that. So tune in. That's around 4:20 today on Sports 1440, also live on Oilers Nation YouTube. I'm Jason Gregor alongside Terry Ryan as we get to the oil report brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton. Stop in right now if you're looking for a great deal, whether you want to finance a new vehicle, a demo, or a certified pre-owned Volvo. You can get it for 1.49%. I highly recommend the XC90. Oh my goodness. It's such a good SUV. I love it. It's the driving, how it turns, got all the bells and whistles too. My favorite is the cruise control on the highway where I just put it on cruise control. If all of a sudden I'm coming up to a car, it slows down. Car gets out of the lane, speeds up. I don't have to do anything. It's much more relaxing. Stress-free. I can't go full hands off yet, but that's much more relaxing on the highway. As we welcome in a gentleman who knows a thing or two about stress in vehicles, Ruben Bronte, a.k.a. Robin Brownlee, joins us once again. And Rubes, I got to pose this question because it came in on the text line. I thought it was a really good question because it really made me think. And I'm curious what the audience would say. Now, I know it's early in the contract, but the question came in from Braden saying, would you rather have Campbell on 5-year, $25 million contract or Koskinen on his Peter Chiarelli deal?
I would rather have Campbell on his contract, all things being equal. I think Jack Campbell is going to be fine this year. We've talked about him before. I get the question. It looks like a lot of dough when you get that kind of uneven year from Campbell that the Oilers just did. But I think he's going to be just fine, Jason. I think you got to play him a little bit less. And you know what? The changes, we talked about the equipment in the past, new city. I mean, it sounds like excuses. The guys making good money. He's a professional hockey player, but it goes against the norm for what his numbers have been in recent years. You went through that in an item you wrote. You can go back 5 years, and that was not the Jack Campbell that stood in the blue paint the last 5 years. So for me, because I'm not paying his salary, he gets the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like the previous 4 years between LA and Toronto, he had a 916. It's like 916 to 888. Yeah. That's a pretty significant drop off. So, and I'm not even saying he'll get back to 916. And to be honest, I'm not even sure he has to. Like that would be great if he did. But if you look at today's NHL, amongst goalies, there was 40 of them who started at least 30 games last year. If he's a 905 goalie, then he was 20th based on last year. And that's, you know what? That's fine. If especially if Stuart Skinner's playing well, then you'd like to be doing cartwheels. I think the Oilers will be good, but that would make their season a little bit easier for sure. We spoke to Brandon Sutter today. He joked about, he kind of felt like a rookie in camp again. He was pretty nervous to start. And then he also joked about how, you get thrown in the fire when they're doing their scrimmages and he's up against McDavid and Draisaitl. But that's kind of what he needs. Like as much as we'll watch the preseason games for Brandon Sutter, I think the one-on-one drills where you have him and Peterson and them going against the Oilers' top guys, I know they're not going to face those guys a lot in the regular season, right? It's usually best on best now, but it's probably a better evaluation to see, okay, how does he handle them than handling, AHL guys or some other teams, bottom six guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing with Sutter that's going to be the question, Jason, and this is, can he get there on time now? He's a big man. He's not a young man anymore. Is he quick enough on the skates? The other thing, I want to see more of, speaking of that spot and where they're looking to play, I want to see more of Lane Peterson. He's not. He's a younger guy. I think he gets around a little better, from what I can tell. Doesn't have the experience. So I mean, those two right there. There's only really one job open, isn't there? And I think those two. It's going to be fun watching them compete for it because they're different kinds of players. That Peterson, he's got some offensive touch. If you look at his numbers, he's produced a little bit. Now that's not necessarily what you want from a guy that low in the lineup, but it doesn't hurt if the guy's got a clue around the net either.
Guys, well, Robin, I'm curious. It would be Skinner, Campbell. Am I drawing a blank here, or would Calvin Pickard be third in that order in the depth chart?
Maybe Olivier Rodrigue, based on how he finished the season last year, right? And I think they might want him to play more just because, he's kind of the potential where, Pickard, we know what he is. He's an AHL guy at this point, which is fine. But I think you'll see Rodrigue, who took over in the second half of last year. I think they'll want him to be more of the starter in the American League. Okay,
so there's some depth there then.
Little bit.
Robin, go ahead.
Terry, for me, the thing is this. I think there's a clear separation there. I don't think they're counting or looking at anybody breaking into that top two. It could be Pickard, could be Rodrigue, as we've said. I think the important thing is, I think if you see Skinner for 45, 46 games, somewhere in there, and Campbell for the rest, I know that doesn't line up with the contracts, but that's not how you play the game. That money is spent. The contract is signed. I thought Skinner was a little bit tired at the end of last season. The players will never say that, but he had not played that many games as a pro unless I missed a year really early in his contract. And I think if you can get, it doesn't sound like much, but you go 45, 46 instead of 50 plus, and Campbell takes the rest, I think you might have two goaltenders with more life left in them when you get to the end of the road.
Charlie Huddy is getting honored. I didn't realize that. And by the way, Jason, you're having Doug Wade on. I did not know till you just said that both of them are going in or being honored.
Yesterday,
my question for Robin was your favorite Charlie Huddy memory. With no disrespect to Doug, I didn't know that. Favorite Charlie Huddy memory.
You know what? My favorite Charlie Huddy memory was just standing around and talking hockey. I got here for his last Stanley Cup, although I didn't know him well. I was just a kid, relatively speaking, tagging along with Jim Matheson at that point in the down at the rink. But Charlie loved to talk the game, and you'd see him talking to young defensemen, and he was never trying to tell anybody or show anybody. The guy had 5 rings, right? In Edmonton, it was well, when I played, that sort of overbearing. I did it all. I've seen it all. He would just talk to young defensemen and say, "Look, maybe try this. Here's what's happening now." Sometimes simple is better. And when you were the guy back when Paul Coffey was up ice, simple was often better because Coffey had all the dangle and dazzle covered up at the other end of the rink. But you know what? It was just watching him from a distance for many years, Terry, make sense and do everything he could to pass along what he knew about the game. Now, if you're looking for something about tales from the road, well, I won't go there because I know a lot of them, but a lot of those guys know where I live. So let's just leave it there. And by the way, Doug Waite and Billy Guerin, the best pair you could possibly travel with, man. They were running mates, and I tell you what, they were terrific players. They worked their butts off, but they also had fun on the road. It was a lot of fun being around those two guys.
I think they showed up once wearing the same suit at an event, and their teammates were just all over them. We're gonna have to ask Doug about that. pretty sure like the Oilers had their big fundraiser gala. I want to say that they had the same. I could be wrong. Maybe that's a myth and a wise tale. I wasn't there, but I've heard that story a few times. So I don't know if it's true or not, but maybe I'll ask Doug about it when he comes on the show in about an hour and a half's time. One last one for you, Robin. Terry talked about Dylan Holloway earlier, and he kind of, he's curious to see where Dylan Holloway goes here this season. He was skating on a line with Brandon Sutter today. Again, Ryan McLeod's not on the ice. He's got a little bit of nothing serious, at least I'm told, but soft tissue, tightness, whatever. So he'll be out for a bit, kind of like Ekholm. And so Peterson was on one line with Fogle. Sutter was with Holloway. What do you make of Holloway this year? And is it still too early? And if he doesn't have a great camp, would you send him to the minors because he doesn't need waivers and let him really kind of gain some confidence and play big minutes?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do, Jason. I expect, I think Dylan Holloway is capable of playing third line minutes this year and being relatively productive. We did a thing as did you. We got a question at Oilers Nation, people asking us to pick a breakout player in our Monday mailbag feature. I went with Holloway. I don't think he's the only guy that could break out, although there's not a ton of first year or second year guys on this team. But I tell you what, I think, he can get there. I think he's smart with the puck. I think he's got his feet wet now, and there's a chance that I think he can have a relatively productive year. And I don't see, if he gets any kind of ice time as a third line player, why we can't see, a dozen, 15 goals from him. Maybe that 15 is at the high end of the range. But I think he can be an NHL player. But for me, Jason, it's between Holloway, where he plays, and how much we see from Broberg. That was touched on earlier. I'm wondering, I threw it out there on Twitter today, and I also wrote about it at Oilers Nation, with Ekholm back there taking care of business. Could a guy like Broberg move up to a second pairing and get more ice time? Is he capable of playing second pairing minutes? I think with Ekholm, he could. Darnell Nurse, could Bouchard move up and play with Nurse? I mean, there's all kinds of could he, would he? But I think Evan Bouchard's on his way. He's a good player. Big help from assist from Ekholm on that. Does he go into the first slot? Well, it might be a push, but you could look at him there. I want to see Broberg. I don't want to see him buried sitting in the press box or getting limited minutes in that third pairing. Let's see what he's got. I mean, he's been up for a while now. Let's see if Philip Broberg can play. Because if he can, man, open the gate and send him out there.
Well, that's a preseason. We'll showcase a little bit, and then obviously we'll get into the regular season. It'll be funny to see what they do with their 7 defensemen. Rubes, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. There'll be some preseason action to discuss.
Yeah, sure will. See you guys. Thanks, man.
Robin Brownlee, a.k.a. Ruben Bronte. That was the Oil Report, brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton. As mentioned, Doug Waite will be joining us later on in the show at 4:20, and a special guest will be joining him after. So that'll be fun. We'll also hear Fluto Shinzawa will join us. We'll go around the NHL. We'll stop in Boston. Man, like no playoff team has had more turnover and change in their lineup than the Boston Bruins. How good can they be? We'll find out after Connor Halley and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by BIE Engineering, your structural engineering specialist. Whether you're in the process of a renovation or building your dream home, BIE can help you out. Go to BIEENG.com.
Michael Parcati has been named the Oilers Senior Director of Data and Analytics. Parcati will work closely with hockey operations in the upcoming season. Major League Baseball, the Jays in action, taking on the New York Yankees. That one gets going at 5 o'clock. Elsewhere, the Nationals host the Braves. Orioles are in Cleveland. Pirates travel to Chicago to take on the Cubbies. Athletics host the Tigers. The Giants in LA to take on the Dodgers. The Angels falling to the Rays earlier today, 5-4, and it was the Brewers blanking the Cards 6-0. Week 3 in the NFL gets going tonight. The Giants head to the Bay Area to take on the Niners. Kickoff 6:15. You can join Brandon Douglas at the Fort Saskatchewan CBH for a chance to win a trip to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas for you fantasy football players. Niners wide receiver Brandon Ayuk not expected to play with a shoulder injury. Canadian offensive lineman Laurent Duvernay-Tardif has announced his retirement from the NFL. The 32-year-old appeared in 73 games for the Chiefs and Jets, also 6 playoff games, winning a Super Bowl with Kansas City. And Dallas Cowboys all-pro cornerback Trayvon Diggs tore his ACL in practice and will miss the remainder of the season, according to multiple reports. Through 2 games this year, Diggs had 4 tackles, a forced fumble, and an interception. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll discuss the Boston Bruins with beat reporter Fluto Shinzawa and speed things up in the Cantor Racing Report with Colin Livingston.
This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Hi, I'm Colin from Cantork. The call letters and studio have changed, yet Edmonton's passion for sports endures. Cantork proudly continues our partnership with Jason Gregor and is eager to get back in the game on Sports 1440.
Christensen Communities, the name in active adult living. Enjoy retirement living without compromise. At Christensen, we understand that each lifestyle is unique. We are committed to providing choice through optional dining, personal services, recreation programs, and care plans to suit your current and future needs. Enjoy maintenance-free living and build new friendships in a safe, independent community. Large suites with full kitchens and in-suite laundry, on-site amenities, and so much more. Find out more today about our communities across the province at cdlhomes.com.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
Come into Jiffy Lube for a Pennzoil Platinum full synthetic oil change and receive a $20 digital gift card to one of over 30 merchants, such as Cineplex or Bass Pro Shops. For a location near you, visit jiffylubeservice.ca. Jiffy Lube, keeping you moving.
Mr. Rooter hits the links.
So I tell the guy it's leaking because you have a hole-in-one.
Hey, Mr. Rooter, you have a better chance of hitting the green with a crescent wrench, you bum.
Oh, boy. It's my rival, Mr. Plunger.
You swing a club like you plumb. Lousy.
Lousy, eh? Hey, Mr. Plunger, there's a clog down there that even you could fix.
For a plumber you can trust, call Mr. Rooter.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Trevor is lonely.
Yeah.
So Trevor threw a big party and served salad.
Nobody came.
Mike is also lonely.
Yeah, it sucks, man.
So Mike threw a big party and served Will Hawk beef jerky.
Go Will Hawk! Go Will Hawk! Everybody came!
Will Hawk beef jerky, because you don't win friends with salad.
Will Hawk is the home of Alberta's best beef jerky.
In Leduc, Spruce Grove, and West Edmonton Mall.
At jackpotcity.net, you can do amazing things with just one casino chip. Discover a world of incredible casino games with over 500 high-quality online slot games, including the world-renowned progressive jackpot slot, Mega Moolah. Play for free at jackpotcity.net and get treated as a VIP 24/7. So visit jackpotcity.net today on your tablet, laptop, or mobile. Jackpot City, a whole world of casino games.
18 plus, please play responsibly. This is not a gambling website.
There's nothing like having a little skin in the game to make things interesting. But when a little skin becomes more than you can afford to lose, it's time to take a break from sports betting. Set a budget and stick to it. If you gamble, use your game sense.
Every Wendy's meal could use something a little crispy, dippy, and made with 100% all-white seasoned chicken. So next time, add a 6-piece of crispy chicken nuggets to your Wendy's order for just $3.49. You won't regret it. Taxes extra. Price and participation may vary.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Roger Weird and his team at Weird, Pearson, Akel & Associates Private Wealth Management, helping business owners and professionals build, protect, and enjoy their wealth. Earn more now and call Roger and his team at 988-4119.
We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business. Mama, please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business.
Now the Con Man, I like it. Con's been building up his music library here at Sports 1440. That is a great song, buddy. Oof. She could have the real deep voice like that guy too. Let's get down business. Yeah, it's not nearly as deep as his either, but it is pretty good. Welcome back to the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. What do you think about the Jays tonight? What's the line there at PlayAlberta.ca, Con Man, for the Jays, who of course really kind of manhandled the Yankees in their first two games. Although it was a real pitcher's duel through 6 innings last night. Then the Jays took over in innings 8 and 9, scoring 5 runs and winning 6-1. But I would think strong favorite again tonight, or maybe not. They haven't been huge favorites in the games.
Well, I believe Garrett Cole's pitching for the Yankees, so the Jays are actually dogs tonight. Plus 119, over under set at 6.5. So
might have to look at something for our little game. Also Thursday nighter, where the Duke, Brandon Douglas, out in Fort Saskatchewan Brewhouse tonight. So if you're out in Fort Sask, go say hi to the Duke. Talk some football with him. You won't be disappointed. He'll probably even buy you a beer. So win-win for you. Jason Gregor alongside Terry Ryan today. TR, we got a few more text to get to you on the show today. You've talked about your training camp battles early on. Now that you're older, do you watch preseason closer because you were a guy who was like preseason was your time to really scrap and claw? Or do you understand that preseason just for like, I don't know, there's really only on good teams maybe 1 or 2 spots open, right? Like bad teams are different. Bad teams like Montreal, Anaheim, there's probably way more spots open, right? So how do you view it as a guy who, had to grind it out for a lot of those preseasons?
It's another great question. I'm intrigued by it. It's a time of year that a lot of careers are made and broken. They really are. And we've got enough Newfoundland flavor the last few years. I always pay attention to most of the players that I skate with and against in the summer here. And even if I don't skate with them, I mean, for the most part, they're all around. But, I pay attention to the Newfoundlanders. I feel that I was one of the first to go. So, I guess I don't want to use the word trailblazer. That's not what I'm saying. But definitely one of the first. I think it opened the doors for a lot of players after me, like Michael Ryder, Harold Druken, Party, Ryan Clough. They came right after, and a lot of it was just because no one was here scouting. Yeah. So for that reason, I do feel a part of it. I love the energy all year that, the buzz in Newfoundland for the players away. You might get a huge Habs fan, but when Boston won the cup and Ryder was on there, they were at the party, like there's a level of that. Newfoundland is like one big hometown. Right. So that being said, Alex Newhook, Dawson Mercer, the latest first round picks that are really, really doing well. I'm intrigued by those guys, so I always pay attention. Some teams a little more than others. You're right, though. Unless it's someone that I have interest in, like the boys, I'm paying attention to the teams that are making a run for it. Generally, other than the names that Chicago signed and the fact they have Bedard, I don't really know the rest of the team. I'm sure. Even Calgary Flames, I saw they got some young guys at camp that are really intriguing to vying for their last spots. I just usually don't know about it till camp. So for me, as a fan and as I guess now you could say, member of the media, do have my own podcast, Tales with TR. Um, I pay attention and I get caught up in the energy. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I like a good little plug there. How come you? Where's your, I'm waiting for your Tales with TR hat to come out on the pod. So, oh, he's got it backwards. There you go. He's even wearing it. See, ask.
Oh yeah.
Holy cow! You got the hat and the hoodie. So,
Oh yeah, you can get them on my Instagram platform right there. The links right on my homepage.
Nice. And we're a week away from season number 2 for Shoresy.
I'm really looking forward to it. Like I said, when we go up and shoot it, we read the script, but we do it out of order. So I just noticed they had a new preview there today, and I watched it, and it's just it unlike I don't sit there and read my own books or like watch my old game tapes, but with this, I feel it's something I'm part of that somebody else writes, and I can feel just a little bit guilty, but I can laugh when I watch it because it was so fun. But again, we shoot it out of order, right? Yeah. So, and the hockey stuff we'll all do like in a month, and then we'll go back. And so sometimes we're doing something a month later, and the first part of the scene, like I said, happened a month before that. So, it's almost like putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and knowing what's coming kind of spoils it a little bit, but it's always funny.
So I've got my wife to watch it, and it's so funny because she's like, I can't stand Shoresy's voice. Like, what the hell? Like, why did Kelso choose to talk like that?
You'd have to ask him. It's a great question, but I know.
When are we getting him on the show?
He doesn't do these. He doesn't do a lot of. You notice he doesn't have any social media. He doesn't do podcasts. He's like Robert De Niro in the early '80s, man.
But he could say yes to Hitch. I'm pretty sure.
No, I didn't. I honestly, I asked him. I'm serious. He's a really good friend. I talk to Jared 5 times a week. Really, it's just great. But I asked him, he said, no, I don't do those, bud. And, he gave me his reasons. I won't elaborate, go into his business, but no, he literally doesn't do any. If you look, he did one with Tom Power like 4 years ago, but he doesn't. And a lot of people ask him, and he turns them on to us. I'll get my phone will go off and, hey, Jared Keeso doesn't want to do this. Do you want to? And he loves that because he figures we can promote our own stuff and everything. It's not a selfish move.
Yeah.
But he changes his voice because, I don't know that he would if Wayne on Letterkenny wasn't already established. But he's got to be different than a guy that he looks exactly like on another show. And so it started on Letterkenny when you wouldn't see his face. It was part of the joke, those that watch Letterkenny, is that you never really saw Shoresy's face. They'd allude to it, kind of like the buddy on Tim the Toolman Taylor. Remember the neighbor? You never saw his face over the fence.
Yeah,
it was kind of and you're in on the joke, but he had to kind of differentiate somehow, and he only had audio to do it because there was no face. Not like you could add makeup or anything. Shoresy had to be different than Wayne, and all he had was the vocals. So I think that's why it's so different.
Hey, Greg's, I'm really liking the YouTube version. Keep rocking those glasses. My question is, Terry Ryan is a great co-host. Will we hear Gazzola anymore? You know what? I asked Tiny Tom, but not right now. So me and TG, we had a lengthy chat today. So we'll see down the road. You never know, but not right now. We have our lineup set. The only 2 guys who haven't, Mike Rupp did make an appearance in the first week, but Mike Rupp, Craig Button will be our regulars on Fridays and Wednesdays coming up starting next week. Kevin Woodley will also be back starting on Monday as they're just waiting. They got, give it a little extra time off, and then they will be back throughout the entire season. When we come back, hey, it is rare that you could have a team that could drop 35 points in the standings and still be a playoff team. That's what the Boston Bruins could have. Like, would anybody be stunned if the Bruins are a 100-point team this year instead of 135? No. Like 100-point teams, that's really good. I think you're a 100-point team, that's pretty solid. But they're going to go from 135. They lost Bergeron. They lost Krejci. They traded Hall. They moved on from Fleury. Like, they made a lot of changes. They announced Brad Marchand as their captain. They still got both their goalies. They added Orlov on the blue line. They should be good. But how good? And who's going to play center? We will go to Boston next as we continue our preseason preview around the NHL. Fluto Shinzawa will join Jason Gregor and Terry Ryan on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440 and live on Oilers Nation YouTube next.
PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website, features a variety of responsible gambling tools such as a time clock, deposit limits, and more. Remember, if you gamble, use your game sense. Visit GameSenseAB.ca to find out more.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
Full service provider of heavy haul transportation and rigging at the highest level. Next Gen Transportation.
We're developing new and innovative ways to transport oversized and overweight equipment to remote and challenging locations.
Our Next Gen team leads with a wealth of experience and expertise. But most importantly, we put safety first, so everyone gets home safely.
We also take great pride in supporting our local community programs and teams. Good luck to everyone this season and in the year ahead.
Visit nextgentransportation.com.
Well, ding ding, the champ is back in the ring, going toe-to-toe with the best flocking chicken wing special in town, only at the Canadian Brewhouse. A minimum 10 wings ain't no problem for the champ when they're only 69 cents all day Wednesday, all day Sunday. Yeah, pal. 2 days to enjoy an unbeatable offer on wings. With a featured wing flavor of the month every month, Wednesday and Sundays just became a very serious wing thing. Both days, all day, 69 cents only at the Canadian Brewhouse.
The Junior Prospects Hockey League is entering its second season of gameplay. The JPHL now offers academic and athletic opportunities in the U14, 15, 17, and U18 age divisions. All JPHL games are broadcast online on Silent Ice TV with a showcase-style game schedule and high level of travel and accommodations for its team, staff, and players. To learn more about why the JPHL is the fastest-growing elite hockey academy stream in Western Canada, visit juniorprospectshockeyleague.com.
Are you ready to light up your game like Edmonton lights up the ice?
Then choose eWell.
Electrical Wholesalers Edmonton Limited offers lightning fast service. Just like your favorite forward, they deliver your electrical supplies in record time.
Plus winning quality. They only stock the best.
And don't forget about their all-star support. When it comes to customer service, they're the playmakers.
So don't sit in the dark. Make the power play and visit eWell today. Online at ewel.ca, where excellence in electrical meets the heart of hockey.
It's time to gear up for fall at Wolf GMC Buick, but there's a catch. We'll get to that. You're not going to pay high rates like 6.9%. You'll pay 0% financing on all in-stock GMC Sierra half-ton Pro Editions, and that's for 60 months. You'll also save $750 if you're a Costco member. 0% financing for 60 months on all in-stock GMC Sierra half-ton Pro Editions. The catch? You'll need to get here ASAP because inventory is cruising off the lot pretty quickly.
Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Terry Ryan with you on a busy Thursday. Of course, training camps across the National Hockey League officially underway today. You will have a preseason game starting Saturday. And Oiler fans, open practice this coming Saturday. On the ice at 10. The scrimmage goes at 11 o'clock. That's where really I think you want to be there for. So I would shoot to be there, 10:15, somewhere around there, 10:30, probably a good time to arrive. And you know what? You can get in the lower bowl, watch the game, Should be a lot of fun. Well, scrimmage, I should call it. It's not a game. It's a scrimmage. But for some people, some kids, man, you get up close like that, it's quite the thrill. So you can do that on Saturday. Let's go around the NHL now, brought to you by McDonald's. And to me, it's one of the most intriguing teams to look at. It's rare to see this much change from a top contending team. Around the NHL is brought to you by McDonald's and the tasty breakfast trio: sausage, chicken McMuffin, sausage or chicken McGriddles with a hash brown, and a small premium roast coffee for only $5 plus tax right now at McDonald's. As we welcome in longtime beat reporter for the Boston Bruins, Fluto Shinzawa, joins Jason Gregor and Terry Ryan. And Fluto, this is probably unlike any other offseason you've had covering this team, because they were really good last year, record-breakingly good. I think a record that's going to be extremely difficult to break. But, man, they lost a lot of real good pieces. They've got some dead cap space because of the bonus overages. I guess let's start with no Bergeron and no Krejci. How thin is the center ice position in the top six in Boston to start the season?
Yeah, that's really the biggest limitation that they have, is that for so long, Bergeron drafted 2003, Krejci drafted 2004. This was just such a constant for them, for the organization, for so long, that of course they knew that the expiration dates were coming, but it's just so hard for them. And they had some misses in terms of young guys that they tried to draft and develop. And now the bill has come due. It's okay. Pavel Zacha, who's played left wing most of his career, did a really nice job for them on the second line last year with David Krejci and David Pastrnak. Okay, well, now he's probably your first line center. So not only are you moving him up a line, but he's moving to a really hard position that has a lot of demands on it. Charlie Coyle, very, very good number 3 center for the Bruins ever since he came from Minnesota. Has he ever been a number 2? They've tried, and it hasn't worked. And now they have no choice, because he's it. He's their second line center. After that, and let's not forget that they lost Tomas Nosek, who was a very good fourth line center. So 3 out of 4 guys in the middle that they're without. So they're scratching their heads in terms of what comes in after Zacha and Coyle. But as we hear every GM and every coach in the league, well, this is your opportunity. This is, if you belong in the NHL, that they're going to make room. So. In my time, since I've been covering, this is as wide open as the roster gets. It's plenty of chances for jobs for guys.
So their goaltending still very good. I think their defense might have got even better with the addition of Orlov. That's obviously the strength of the team. And the other big news, of course, is Brad Marchand is the captain. He learned a lot from Bergeron, but he's a very different personality. Fluto, how do you think he's going to handle having the captaincy?
Fine. I think Brad's going to be a tremendous captain. He's been pretty much co-captain with Patrice for these last 3 years. That Patrice was the captain. Yes, as you noted, a very different personality than Patrice. I think one of Patrice's biggest strengths was really looking outward in terms of being aware of the room, what the needs were, how guys were doing, if they were doing well, if they're not doing well. He was really keen about knowing when guys needed a pick-me-up or a pat on the back or whatever. And Brad's just not. That's not who he is necessarily. He is a very outgoing person. He's very witty, very very personable. But in terms of being wired that way, it's just not in his personality. Let's face it. He was a former third-round pick and came in as a fourth liner, and then next thing you know, he's perhaps the best all-around left wing in the game. And that's a person who willed himself into that kind of elite status. Well, now he has to worry about 22 other guys. That will be a work in progress. But in terms of his leadership style, nobody, not Patrice, not Zdeno Chara, nobody has worked harder on the ice, in practice. Nobody likes to practice against Brad. So that will be his style, that he's going to do that thing and everybody else will fall in line. And he's going to be a go-to player. He's healthy. He's feeling good. I think he's going to be tremendous.
Fluto, one player that I've had my eye on for a couple of years is Trent Frederick, a big guy, first rounder, 25 now, has been in the league for a few years. Last year showed real strides. What are the expectations for that guy this season?
Yeah, that's a player that could really be perhaps among the tops on the roster in terms of, first of all, opportunity and the potential of taking that step forward. I remember looking at his stats. He had career highs. I don't remember exactly how many goals and assists he had, but it was all within a pretty limited role, mostly as your third line right wing for the Bruins. He averaged something like 11 something per game, no power play, no special teams, and he can play center. That's where he was raised in terms of junior and Wisconsin and his American League career, but they like him on the wing. They like that he can control pucks. He has a really good shot. Now the question is, okay, he was a very good third line right wing. Can he be a top six wing? I think there's hope there, but that's hope. There's no real solid projection in terms of, okay, we can project Jake DeBrusk to be a 25-30 goal scorer. We can project Brad to do his thing. We can project David Pastrnak to be 60-plus goals. You can't do the same thing with Trent Frederick because he's never done that. They've never really needed him to do that. Well, now they need him to, but he's got tools. Big, mean, pretty good hands, not necessarily quick, but doesn't back down from a lot of guys. So there's a lot of good parts in Trent's game, but yeah, 25 years old, former first-round pick. This is his time to really take that next step. And I don't know if they're in trouble if he doesn't, but the other choices for top six wing, they just don't bring that kind of package that Trent does.
Yeah, and obviously I misspoke when I said Orlov. He's signed in Carolina, obviously not in Boston. So my apologies on that one. Looking at the Bruins, they've got some interesting names. They brought Milan Lucic back. He's obviously going to play a different role than he did when he was in his heyday in Boston. I don't see him playing on the top line anymore. Probably a fourth line energy guy, and that's what he's getting paid, $1 million. Alex Chiasson might be the greatest PTO player in NHL history as far as getting a PTO and then turning it into an actual NHL contract. Both him and Danton Heinen are on PTOs. Is there room for one or both of them realistically?
I would say yes. Alex was talking about that the other day, that he goes in on a PTO and has the best goals, I think 22 goals that year that he was in on a PTO. Now he's 32, and we know Alex's history that when he's not scoring goals, what else does he bring to the table? So there's that he's going to have to be a consistent goal scorer. Now they do have needs at right wing. It really drops off after David Pastrnak. Now Jake DeBrusk could play right side, which he did for most of last year. But that's not. We don't know if that's going to be his ultimate position. After that, they got this kid Fabian Lysell, or first round pick in 2021, but he might not be ready. So there's certainly a window there for Alex to do his thing, but it's just you worry about the legs, the quickness, and then what other things can he do? That's never been the issue for Danton Heinen. He's back for a second time. He was in his first time as a Bruin. He was very versatile, very reliable. Played on all four lines, left, right, PK, a little bit of power play. Not an offensive guy, but a good skater. Has a history with Jim Montgomery in college. So I would give Dan a little bit more of an edge in terms of getting a job than Alex, just because of the multi-tool aspect of his game. So we'll see. But clearly they saw that a need for at least competition for those spots. So we'll see. Good luck to both of them.
Fluto.
Oh, go ahead, TR.
Sorry, did I cut you off there?
No, go ahead.
The Bruins were so good last year. I mean, record-setting good, and they were solid in goal, obviously. One guy that got lost in the shuffle a little bit, who had great stats in the minors, is Brandon Bussey. What can you tell us about that guy?
Big guy, catches right, undrafted. There's a lot to like They like him a lot. There's size. He's I think he's 6'5". He looks bigger than Linus, who's 6'5". He's quick. He's coachable. A lot to like there, but he could stop every puck in camp, and it wouldn't matter. He's going back to the American League. Now there's certainly potential there. And Allmark, he got hurt last year.
Yep.
At the end of the regular season, he wasn't himself in the playoffs. Swayman had a knee injury, so there's always that risk. But this is a position of strength for the Bruins, probably their biggest. They're going to lean on Linus and Jeremy big time this year, and they were best in show last year. So if one of those guys goes down, yes, Brandon, he'll be first in line up from the American League. But will he necessarily play in that situation? Let's just say somebody tweaks a groin and he's out for a couple of weeks. Well, either Linus or Jeremy will be asked to carry the mail for that stretch. But yes, Brandon, there's 25 years old. There's something there for sure.
So that's why Swayman didn't play, because it didn't make sense to me when I looked at Boston's rotation all year long. I think it was like sometime in early November, the last time that either one of their goalies played more than 2 consecutive games. So Swayman's knee was that bad that, is that, I hate to say, is that kind of an excuse? Because if there's one thing I look at without that series, I was a little perplexed. And not that Allmark's bad, but they got to the playoffs in the greatest record of all time by literally rotating their goaltenders.
Yeah, that was a horrible decision. Horrible. But you can say the buck stops with the coach, but I'm sure a lot of bosses had some input on that one, and they blew it. Yeah. They blew it. That not only was Linus, we'll go back to Jeremy. Yeah, he was injured. I think he missed about 3 weeks or so. Keith Kincaid came up. He might have gotten in one game, but Linus, he was a man there. That's the only reason why they went away from the rotation. It worked so well, and then you scrap it for the most important games. Okay, I understand. This is the way it's been done. It's always okay. You pace the goalies through the regular season, and Linus was not clearly, but he was better than Jeremy, and of course he should get first crack. But then, A, why do you not stick with what got you there in terms of the rotation? But then B, when you know A, he's hurt, and then every signal was flashing red on the dashboard in terms of Linus not being himself, and it was way too late. That was. They put Swayman in a terrible position in Game 7. Linus was not himself in Game 6. He was not himself before. They should have made that switch a lot easier, a lot sooner. Hey, what's wrong with the Bruins won Game 1 with Allmark? What is wrong with going with Swayman in Game 2 and just sticking with it the whole way? I think there will come a time when some team will just say, "Hey, this is the way it is. This is the way it has worked. We all know how stressful these games are with how offensive-minded teams are. That this is the way that we're going to have success, is to rotate." Bruins were in the right position to do that. They didn't, and that was one probably the biggest reason why they didn't win a round.
And lastly, the Trent Frederick story intrigued me because he had such a breakout season for him last year. If I look at any of the Bruins players, because there's clearly going to be more opportunities for some guys in the lineup this year than there was, just because, Taylor Hall's gone and Bergeron's gone and Krejci's gone and, Foligno's gone. Is Morgan Geekie the easy, obvious answer to you, or do you see someone else who could have a breakout season for the Bruins?
No, that's a good one. Just because Morgan, I'm sure he was caught unaware when Seattle didn't qualify him at that age, and there's certainly some potential there. That I think he was 12 minutes per game last year, a pretty limited role, but absolutely that third line center role is wide open, and that looks like it's his, or at least he's going to get first crack at that. And that's a pretty good opportunity for Morgan, because he'll be out there for faceoffs. He'll be out there on the kill. I would expect his ice time, if all goes well and they follow that Coyle model, to be in the 15 to 17 minute range. Okay. And he's a big man, has some touch. Absolutely, things are lining up for Morgan Geekie to take that next step.
Fluto, we appreciate the rundown. Enjoy the preseason. We'll talk to you throughout the year.
Okay, guys. Thanks, Jason.
That's-
Terry, my pleasure.
You betcha. That's Fluto Shinzawa. Really nice guy, man. One of the nicest guys you'll meet covering the beats around the NHL. And hey, Tara, you had brought it up last week, and we were like, why did this, don't change it if it's not, don't fix it if it's not broken. Right. And I think that's what Boston did a little bit. They all thought themselves in the playoffs. Like, we had the best record. I would be like, guys, I would have sat down with both goalies and said, we got here to have the greatest record in NHL history because neither one of you played more than 2 games in a row. And a lot of times it was back and forth. We're going to continue to do that.
It's funny how sometimes, right, someone second guessed it. Then it little idea gets in your head. And yeah, but now the playoffs are different. But let's do this. Let's do that. You could just see it backfiring. You could just watch it unravel as a fan. You knew it. And it was too little too late. Then they started scrambling. It was intriguing. Everything about the Boston Bruins last year, including that collapse, were intriguing to me. I just couldn't believe it.
TR, thank you so much for stepping in and taking some time out. I know you got a busy day with the charity golf tournament. Go have some dinner. We thank you for coming in a little bit earlier. And we will see you on Monday, where there'll be lots of preseason action. Well, not a lot, but some to discuss. Of course, the Oilers are taking on the Winnipeg Jets on Sunday and then on Monday as well. So have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Edmonton. I'll catch you guys on the rebound.
That is Terry Ryan, our weekly Monday and Thursday co-host. When we come back, Livingston will be joining us. We also have Doug Waite and a special guest coming up around 4:20 today on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440 and OilersNation.com YouTube channel, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
McCafe now has cold brew beverages, and they're smooth. Made with 100% Arabica beans, steeped cold and slow for an irresistibly smooth taste. McCafe cold brew beverages, for a limited time only at participating McDonald's.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is the #1 place for people who want heating and cooling, because you'll save a bundle and get both with a heat pump. Then you can use hot, cold. Come on, thermostat, do what you're told. Turn up the heat, turn up the cold, so the vents start pushing out tornadoes. Time for a heat pump, bring it to me! Gonna get a deal from Legacy! Your heat pump from Legacy will heat and cool while saving you a bundle in energy costs. Plus, you'll get a rebate up to $5,000 and no payments, no interest for 1 year. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Ain't it beautiful? What does excellence mean to you, and how does it impact your decisions? Friends, it's Carrie Dahl, and I know that at Volvo Cars Edmonton, excellence isn't an option, it's their everything. From customer satisfaction in sales, service, inventory, and retention, they excel in all. Congratulations, Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Volvo of Edmonton.
How exciting is it to have Sports Talk Radio back in Edmonton?
Tie game, bottom of the ninth with a full count. The kick, the pitch. It's high. It's far. It is gone. Walk-off home run.
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. Edmonton Kubota is excited to welcome back Sports Talk Radio.
So be proactive and protect your investment with Vision RV's thorough and affordable winterizing packages. You'll be all set for the off-season with help from our amazing service team. So kick back and relax in our comfy customer lounge while we get to work, or stroll around and see what's new. We look forward to seeing you here at Vision RV, just south of the Yellowhead on Highway 60.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Japa Machinery. Japa is digging deep on their 50-year history of supporting Alberta's construction industry with their special edition Blackout excavators. Visit japamachinery.com for all the details.
Thursday afternoon, flying by. Welcome back to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440. Also watching live on Oilers Nation YouTube. Appreciate it. Lots of comments coming in there on the text line. 833-401-1440 is time for our weekly Thursday chat where I'd like to speed things up in the racing report. Brought to you by Cantork. They've continued developing tools and are excited to announce their newest design, battery-powered nut runners. 4 models from 500 to 3,000 foot-pounds with more on the way. Go to cantork.com as Colin Livingston joins us once again. Col, how you doing, my man?
Oh, I've been a little bit better, but shaking it off. I guess 24-hour COVID after a super spreader event on the weekend, and finally feeling a little bit human again.
Okay, well, hey, that's all right. Good to hear nothing crazy. Now, let's get to F1 because the gentleman who has raced the most laps in F1 history, Mr. Alfonso, is saying that, the qualifying format needs to change. It isn't working. What do you think?
Yeah, 100% agree with him. Qualifying format was implemented many, many years ago and several car iterations ago in an attempt to make qualifying more exciting. The olden days, cars would go out for single lap qualifying, which really wasn't that exciting. But what's happened now is the cars have evolved and changed so much that when, now these turbo hybrid cars, they need a lap just to charge the batteries. You can't just go out and rip a lap. I don't know if you actually watch the race or if you watch qualifying at all from Singapore, but
I watched it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mess. Like, guys trying to queue up to make sure that, first of all, you have enough space. Then you want to try and get behind someone you can maybe draft. Then you want to, make sure your battery's charged. But then, there's all this stuff and they're all blocking each other. Verstappen on 3 different occasions was cited for impeding, once on pit road, twice on the track. And it's just turning into a total mess. And realistically, I don't think it makes anything more exciting. So Alonso really has a good point. And, I mentioned this several times, but I got to bring it up again. These guys need to learn a little bit from IndyCar though, as well, because IndyCar is smart enough that during qualifying, they'll move the start finish line. Like, it doesn't have to be where the start finish line is. They move it to be just before the entry to pit road. So when these guys finish a lap, they can just duck right onto pit road and get out of the way. They don't have to do this in lap and worry about traffic coming and all that stuff. So, hopefully there's a little bit of common sense that, that can kick in here.
Well, the other thing is just, the evolution of everything that we have in society. And obviously F1 is no different. The flexi wings and the flexi floors.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just, for maybe non-motorhead guys, explain what they are and what are your thoughts on them?
Well, so with the new generation of cars, there was a lot, the design of the cars totally changed. They went from, designs of the bodies and the wings to create downforce. They moved to a different style of design that relies more heavily on ground effect, where instead of the cars being pushed down by air, they actually get sucked down, which maybe doesn't sound all that different, but it's a totally different concept. along the way, though, these teams have been really clever with how they've designed their front wings, their rear wings, and their floors, so that, I mean, what's cool now is because obviously we have a YouTube component, so I can actually talk with a bit of my hands. But as a wing is not under load, it'll stand straight up. And a lot of these teams have been really clever that at speed, those wings start to fold down, so they have way less drag. You don't want that force when you're at speed. And the FIA's noticed that. And the, with the floors, what it's doing is it's basically creating a radius where it gives the teams an advantage at speed. And now that the FIA started to crack down on it, oddly enough, last weekend, Red Bull went from absolutely dominating almost everything to, almost looking like an 8th or a 10th place team. So, they swear that their car has not been affected by these things at all and that they just missed the setup. But, maybe it's coincidence, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, you know what? I'll be honest. It's just nice to see something different in F1, and that's taking nothing away from Max Verstappen. Their team's been dominant. They're full marks for all their victories. But 100%. Not only were they really not a factor, he finished 5th, and that's okay. But like the finish with all 4 cars right there, you had Sainz and Norris from different teams kind of helping each other a little bit as Mercedes had both changed, and then you see Russell, like Norris hits the wall briefly, just taps it kind of thing. And Russell does the same thing. And I guess a little bit unlucky. His tire punctures, boom, he smashes into the wall and goes from 3rd place. And now he's out. He gets no points. He was pretty distraught afterwards. But I can't recall the last time you had 4 cars all within 2 seconds for the final 3, 4, 5 laps of a race call. Like, it was magical to watch. Like, I didn't care who won. It was just really exciting to watch.
Yeah, and as cool as it was also super frustrating, for me, because it's like Lewis was easily the fastest car on track, but couldn't show it because he still had to respect his teammate. By the time, Russell was out, there was no time to make any kind of move after that point. But yeah, I mean, that's how close these cars are. And especially on a track like Singapore, where there's not a lot of room and it's really tight. The areas and the opportunities to pass are far and few between. But, I'm a big advocate that luck has so much to do. It's such a factor in racing. And unfortunately, people usually misunderstand what I say, but you don't win because you're lucky, but you can't win without luck. And that's, that's encapsulated in that one instance where Norris hits the wall and manages to drive away. A fraction of a second later, Russell hits the wall just exactly the same way, maybe just a fraction harder. He blows out his right rear wheel and ends up in the fence. I mean, one was super lucky, one was super unlucky. They did the exact same thing to very different results, but will be super, super interesting to find out what happens this weekend. Because, Suzuka is more of a conventional racetrack, one of the greatest racetracks in the world. Really high speed, great flowing corners. We'll find out if Red Bull's really in trouble or, if these other teams have actually caught up a bit.
Well, it'll be fascinating to see. You're right, because like Red Bull, like Max wasn't really competitive at all. He was the one, actually, as you mentioned earlier, he had the 3 infractions called against him. It wasn't like he was getting screwed over in qualifying. He was kind of screwing over the other guys, and probably might have had a strong argument that he should have been penalized. Although I'm not sure it would have mattered. He wasn't going to win the race based on just how the car was all weekend long. Like it was unique and kind of odd to watch cars passing Red Bull kind of like it was easy, which Red Bull has done to everybody else all season long. So it was a one-off. That's what will make this weekend exciting. We all know who's going to win the championship, but can they at least make the second half of the season kind of exciting to see if, Ferrari now, Sainz has had back-to-back poles. They're pretty competitive. Mercedes obviously seemingly getting better. Even McLaren, Norris was pretty good. So, and Alonso's always been entertaining to me. I like watching him race for sure. The Pinty series is wrapping up here in NASCAR Canada, and barring like some sort of travesty with not getting on the grid, Trayton Lapsevich is going to be crowned the champion this year. Colin, he's had an excellent race. Now he's your Alex Tagliani's teammate. What's gone better for him just a little bit than Tags this year?
They came out of the blocks flying for sure. Had had a great setup. Yes, we're under the same stable. We run, same cars. During the weekend, we'll maybe go a slightly different way than those guys do. But, Trayton just hasn't made any mistakes this year, and they haven't had any bad luck. And I'm not trying to take anything away. He's had a great season, 6 wins. Just absolutely killed out here in the West, with 2 wins and a second place finish. What was our last race? A Canadian Tire, managed to stay out of trouble. But yeah, all he technically has to do is take the green flag, and the championship's his, which is kind of a really cool thing. Their family's been involved in racing and in NASCAR back to CASCAR. His brother Caden was a champion a few years ago. His family, his dad raced. I mean, we have a lot of stories about some of the incidents between Alex and Jeff over the years, the father. But they've been great teammates. They're great people, and it's really exciting for our series to have a kid. I mean, Trayton's only 21, 22 years old. I mean, he's a baby. I remember back to 2 years ago, the last race, this race that we're doing here this weekend at Delaware. He was in a position to win his first ever race, and it came down to the last couple of laps. He went wide. DJ got underneath him. DJ Kennington. He came down onto DJ, spun out, was really pissed off. And DJ said, listen, kid, you are going to win a ton of races. The hole was there. I had to take it. It's not like I drove into you and knocked you out of the way. I think you'll see in time. And, DJ, God bless him, was 100% right that here we are less than 2 years later from the kid's first season, and he's going to be crowned a Pinty Series champion. So, really looking forward to it, though.
Is he going to be the youngest champion ever at 21?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, Caden was fairly young when he won his. I don't have the numbers in front of me to confirm that, but Trayton is basically at the age that he should be competing for Rookie of the Year, and he's going to get the big trophy.
Yeah, no, it's well deserved for him. And in any sport, you need the young up and comers. You want kind of that next wave. It doesn't mean the old guys are ready to just hand it to them, but it's nice to have a next generation coming in any sport. And he obviously looks like one of those top guys in the Pinty Series. Colin, hope you feel better, man. Enjoy the final weekend, and we'll be interested about that, and also to see can Red Bull bounce back, or is the race going to be a little bit more competitive? We'll find out in F1 this weekend. Thanks for your time.
You bet. Thanks, man.
That's Colin Livingston in the Racing Report, brought to you by Cantork. Of course, every Thursday we go inside the racing world with Colin. We've done it for many years. It's a lot of fun. He's obviously a part of the Tagliani crew in Pinty, so he has that. He's a massive motorhead guy. Watches all the races, talks to all of them. Has been in pit row on pretty much every big race around, Indy 500 and everything else. So it's a wealth of knowledge to have him on when we want to talk a little racing. Coming up at 4:20 today, Doug Waite will be inducted into the Oilers Hall of Fame on Thursday, the 26th of October, against the New York Rangers, the team that traded him to Edmonton. Maybe some of you don't remember that. Him and Esatikin got traded the day of the game. They literally had their bags just down the hallway, switching rooms. It was kind of crazy. So we'll talk to Doug about that unique entrance into the Oilers organization. And then for many years, for a whole kind of decade of Oiler fans, Doug Waite was the guy. He was their best player. He was their leading scorer, emotional guy. Really, him and his wife got involved in the city. So we'll talk to Doug, and we're going to maybe surprise him with a little special guest. So all that is coming up. But first, Connor Halley and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Do not wait till it conks out, baby. Get one now. No payments for a year. LegacyHeating.ca.
Michael Parcati has been named the Oilers Senior Director of Data and Analytics. Parcati will work closely with the Hockey Operations Department. Major League Baseball, Jays in action tonight, taking on the Yankees once again. First pitch, set for 5:05. Elsewhere, the Mets are in Philly. Cubbies host the Pirates. Tigers take on the Athletics. Dodgers host the Giants. Two finals for you. The Angels fall to the Rays 5-4, and the Brewers blank the Cards 6-0. Week 3 in the NFL gets going tonight with the Giants heading to the Bay to take on the Niners. Kickoff 6:15. You can join Brandon Douglas out at the Fort Sask CBH for a chance to win a trip down to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. For the fantasy football players out there, Niners wide receiver Brandon Ayuk not expected to play with a shoulder injury. And Dallas Cowboys all-pro cornerback Trayvon Diggs tore his ACL in practice today. He will miss the remainder of the season. Coming up in hour number 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll preview Thursday Night Football with Bonta Hill, and we'll be joined by future Oilers Hall of Famer Doug Wade.
This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports betting is now live at playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website. All the revenue from provincial gaming programs goes back into Alberta communities like yours. When you play in Alberta, it stays
Sports
in Alberta.
1440.
Learn more at playalberta.ca.
I don't quit, no, I just press harder than I ever did before. Going for the dreams that I have in store in my mind. Cause I know that I'm making it. I gotta get mine and nobody's taking it away. No, cause Hammer don't play that. You trying to get mine, boy? You better step back, freeze. Cause you don't want none. I hustle for my muscle and you look weak, son. Yeah, I'm going for all that I can get. Kicking it at the top because
We continue on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440. How are you? Welcome back. Of course, also those, big hello, watching live on Oilers Nation YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Want to check it out? We'll be giving away some tickets there. Tomorrow, you can always get involved. You can text us at 833-401-1440 in our Jiffy Lube inbox. Stop in right now for a Pennzoil Platinum full synthetic oil change, and you will receive a $20 digital gift card to one of over 30 local merchants. You get to pick which one you want. Book your appointment today. Support local at jiffylubeservice.ca. Of course, training camp began today. The story today, I guess, would be Ryan McLeod wasn't on the ice. Got a little bit of a soft tissue issue. Doesn't sound like it's overly serious, but like Ekholm, they're being very cautious with it, so don't expect him on the ice this weekend. No timetable yet. Might be a week for McLeod and Ekholm. We will see, but I'm not expecting them to be playing Sunday and Monday in the first two preseason games for the Edmonton Oilers. I'll be curious to see if McDavid plays on. So last year, I think he played a total of 3 preseason games. So we'll see when they get in. The captain and Draisaitl, they're probably limited. Now, if it's the NFL, you don't play at all, which might be a good or bad idea. Depends who you're talking to. Let's get to the our fantasy NFL report brought to you by Next Gen Transportation, heavy haul transport provider, 100% locally owned and operated, and proud to support numerous youth sports teams. It's nextgentransportation.com. And tonight, Thursday nighter, where well, I'm kind of curious to see what's at stake here, because hey, the one team everybody thought was going to be good, so far they've been pretty good. They being the San Francisco 49ers. And we are joined by Bonta Hill from 95.7 The Game in San Francisco, where I'm guessing 49er fans like don't plan the parade yet, Bonta, but they're probably pretty excited. Their team has looked very good through the first 2 weeks of the season.
Are you kidding me? Plan a parade? Have you seen what's happened through the last 4 years with the 49ers? Nobody's going near that P word right now, the parade word, which we haven't had since 1995 here in the Bay Area. So just taking it week by week. But the ultimate goal, no doubt about it, the mindset is Super Bowl or bust. We will enjoy the journey, but we know it's going to come down to what happens in late January, early February, and that then will dictate how we feel about this football team.
They come in, are obviously a heavy favorite tonight against the New York Giants. And, you know, they made the big deal last season for Christian McCaffrey. And, man, you know what? I think it's been more than worth it. You know, he's been excellent. I was looking at some of the lines, though. They're like, 17 carries. You know, a lot of people think they might blow him out. Do they have to be a little leery of not overusing him this year?
I guess, right? But if you play to try to prevent injuries, that's when you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But the guy is a difference maker. And when he's on the football field, defenses are aware, and it opens up everything. Just look at Brendan Ayuk, who unfortunately will not play tonight. I'm sure we'll get to that. But he opens up the field for Debo, for George Kittle. Christian McCaffrey is a game changer. So a lot of people, oh, my gosh, he could get hurt in practice. Like we saw Trayvon Diggs today tear his ACL for the Dallas Cowboys with a non-contact injury. So I want to use this guy. Now, would I like to see Elijah Mitchell or Ty Davis-Price or Jordan Mason at some point? Absolutely, especially on a short week. But so far, I've had no problem with the usage. If anything, I want him on the field. Like Brendan Ayuk last week was obviously compromised with the shoulder, but him being on the field allowed the Niners to do what they do best on offense. So you still have to pay attention to him at times, even though he's compromised. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey. Right now is not the time to worry about his workload. He's worked out all offseason. He didn't play in the preseason. Give him some carries. Let him get into a rhythm. He needs 20 to 25 touches a game. Personally, I have no problem with the usage. I'm sure Shanahan will find ways to get other guys involved and give them a blow here and there. But the fact is, they're a Super Bowl type of team with Christian McCaffrey on the field. And we saw what they were without Christian McCaffrey last season, a 500 football team.
Bonta, Brock Purdy came in. You know, I think it's safe to say maybe kind of came out of nowhere a little bit when you're considering what the 49ers gave up to get Trey Lance and then obviously got rid of him. And, there was some people wondering, well, and it's only 2 games, but man, like Brock Purdy, he looks so much more experienced in the actual games played that he has.
No, he does. I mean, I walked out of SoFi Stadium last week in LA thinking, okay, sure, he missed 2 deep passes to Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, but you know what? You got yourself a quarterback. He makes all the right reads. He's poised. And look, I'm not comparing him to Tom Brady. I'm not comparing him to Joe Montana. I'm not going to compare him to the great quarterbacks of yesteryear. Young Tom Brady, the way he dink and dunked, made the game, made the ordinary play, the simple play. He reminds me of that type of poise, having that moxie in the pocket, moving around, improvising or whatnot. And the lights are never too bright for the young man. So, yeah, he came out of nowhere. I did not believe that he could be a factor last season. I thought I was cracking up when he came in. I go, boy, the season's over. But all he's done is help win this team football games. And when he started to finish the game, they have not lost yet. And the most important thing is he's got the back of it. His teammates love him. I mean, he was voted a captain this season. I think a lot of people take that seriously. When you're voted a captain amongst the 53 players in that locker room, that says something about who he is as a quarterback and who he is in the locker room. So, I mean, all he's done this season is not turn the ball over. And I haven't, maybe with the exception of one play against Pittsburgh where Patrick Peterson undercut a pass intended for George Kittle, I've never said, oh, no, what are you doing? Oh, my gosh, it's a bad read. Jimmy Garoppolo, you did that 3 to 4 times a game. I haven't done that maybe one time this season. So Brock is just becoming better and better. He's won over Shanahan, but, we'll see how the season plays out for him. But with all these weapons, he understands. Just get the ball to Deebo Samuel, get the ball to Christopher McCaffrey, get the ball to Brandon Ayuk. You can let them do the rest.
Bonta Hill joins us breaking down the 49ers-Giants game tonight. Now, Ayuk is out, so I know for some people in fantasy, hey, you know what? Who do you see stepping up? Who's going to replace him, or is it just going to be the Deebo Samuel show and George Kittle getting tons of balls? Is there going to be another third receiving option in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, Jawan Jennings had a big day last week, the big physical third down receiver. He's really good in the run game. But a lot of people are looking at Ronnie Bell, the rookie from Michigan, who made a lot of plays, big plays for Michigan Wolverines this season, going over his tenure as a Wolverine under Jim Harbaugh. It seems like he will be the next man to step up, but they haven't got George Kittle going yet. So I'm wondering if Kyle Shanahan will use George Kittle on the outside in the slot, kind of use him like Gronk was used, or Travis Kelce, where he lines up in the slot or out wide and he goes one-on-one with the quarterback. So I think they're going to have to get a little creative in the pass game, but I expect the Niners to try to run the ball, shorten the game up, and get out of here healthy, especially considering it's a short week and against a New York Football Giants team that's given up a lot of yards on the ground.
Well, giving up a lot of yards, man, they were Jekyll and Hyde. Were getting absolutely pounded, and then all of a sudden they came out of nowhere in the second half, and I think they tied a franchise record for largest comeback victory in franchise history. So, you got to be a little leery of it, but I'm sorry, Jones doesn't scare me at all. You look at this 49ers defense, how do you expect them to attack? Is it just pressure, or what do you think they're going to do tonight against the offense of the Giants?
I mean, the Giants are missing 2 starting linemen, including their left tackle, Andrew Thomas. They're missing Saquon Barkley. This offensive line has been in shambles. I expect the Niners defensive line to get out there, and I expect Nick Bosa to register his first sack of the season. Look, in the second half against the LA Rams, this defense adjusted, and they started getting pressure on Matthew Stafford. That's where you see Matthew Stafford throw an interception, start to become inaccurate, and start to feel hurried in that pocket. I expect this front seven to really get after the New York Giants. I don't think outside of Darren Waller, they really respect anybody on the outside. Maybe Darius Slay, Isaiah Hodgins, but for the most part, I expect this front seven to absolutely dominate today. Matt Breida, former 49er, I don't think they fear him in a run game. Daniel Jones, if he wants to run around, well, guess what? You may run into Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, and it could be lights out for Daniel Jones. I expect this defensive line to have their best day of the young season. I really am intrigued on how the New York Giants will try to block this front, not to mention Javon Hargrave, who's been a force. Javon Kinlaw's probably coming off his best game in over a calendar year. And then you got Drake Jackson, who registered the 3 sacks in the first game against Pittsburgh. I'm honestly, fellas, I'm trying to figure out how the Giants are going to block this front tonight. I think they could be in a world of trouble trying to block, especially with that their 2 starting offensive linemen on the left side of the football field.
Oh, man. Bosa, of course, everybody knows, he arrived a little bit late, and although lots of guys didn't play in preseason, but that probably impacts you a bit. And he doesn't
Right.
have a sack. And, it's funny when you say, well, it's only 2 games into the season and he doesn't have a sack. And of course, he only played 1 game. But for some reason, it sounds stupid to say, but you're just like, wow, I think Bosa's really going to dominate. And then when you outline all the injuries on their O-line, like, it wouldn't be crazy to think here and say, oh, Bosa at the end of the night has 3 sacks.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a player prop, and for people who gamble, the player prop for Nick Bosa tonight is over half a sack. And I'm thinking, that's a gimme. Because last week against the Rams, a lot of people say no sacks, but he had the 4 hurries. He got a couple quarterback hits, and he forced a couple holding calls. I'm at the game, and 97 was getting closer and closer and closer to Matthew Stafford. So, yeah, absolutely. You could wake up and remember 2019 when Bosa was a rookie. He had his coming out party on Monday Night Football against Cleveland Browns when he planted the flag against Baker Mayfield. He had 3 sacks in that game. He loves primetime football. He was born for primetime football games, and Bosa's heard all the chatter, and he said it earlier this week. It sounds like a good week to get some sacks. Against this front, against a guy who likes to hold the ball like Daniel Jones, I really feel like this could be a monster Nick Bosa game, especially, against these backup left tackles and left guards. Oh, my gosh, good luck, New York Giants. I do believe Bosa will get on the scoreboard, especially after watching T.J. Watt on Monday night. Think he wants to fall too far behind T.J. Watt in the sack race. He wants another DPOI. So this could be a monster game for number 97, Nick Bosa.
When you look at the 49ers, is there any area offensively or defensively that you feel is a concern? Not for tonight's game, just on the season.
Yeah. No, I hear you. The right side of the offensive line, obviously, has got a big spotlight on Colton McKivitz, who's replacing Mike McGlinchey, who a lot of Niner fans wasn't a big fan of anyway. He was a good run blocker, but in the pass game, he was vulnerable. It's Spencer Burford, who's in his second year at right guard. That's the area of concern on offense. Can they get it done in pass protection? Can they get it done in the run game? Because so far this season, the Niners have just ran behind Trent Williams and Aaron Banks. Now, Trent Williams is a Hall of Fame left tackle. Aaron Banks is an up-and-coming left guard who hasn't given up a pressure or a sack this season. So I get why they wouldn't just run behind Trent Williams and Aaron Banks. Makes a lot of sense, right? But at some point, you got to figure that an opponent's going to make them run right. Will they be able to do that? And will they be able to pass protect? Because a lot of pressures are coming from that side of the offensive line. So on the offense, it's the right side of that offensive line, specifically Spencer Burford at right guard, Colton McKivitz at right tackle. Defensively, it's all about those cornerbacks. Now, Ambry Thomas is not going to play tonight. He's out with the knee injury, so here comes Isaiah Oliver, who had a big-time second half last week against the LA Reds with 6 tackles and interception, a quarterback pressure, some nice tackles in the run game. But against quick twitch type of wide receivers, I'm not sure about Isaiah Oliver. Tarvarius Ward came up over 7 catches to Puka Nacua last week, as Puka Nacua had 15 catches overall. And then Diamondor Lenore, who's a third-year guy who does get picked on as well. So if they don't get pressure, those quarterbacks of the 49ers are a big-time concern. Tarvarius Ward, Ambry Thomas, and, of course, Isaiah Oliver and Diamondor Lenore. Those guys are going to be tested against some big boys. When we look at Philadelphia, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Carter, can they hold up if they don't get pressure on Jalen Hurts? That's the concern for this defense, the cornerback spot. Offensively, it's right tackle, right guard, but defensively, it's those corners, man. They're going to be in the hot seat all season long.
Bonta, I love the fire, man. The passion. We'll have to get you back on. Enjoy the game tonight. I'm with you. It's just a matter of how much of a spread would you take tonight for the 49ers? Because I think they might blow
minus 10. I like laying the 10 points, even at home. I may do it anyway. My boss at 95.7 The Game, Andy Hegan, said it was a shoebox game. Throw everything you got in the shoebox on the 49ers. I may ride with it with that. But look, fellas, it's football season. This is what we live for. We got basketball right on the corner. We're in the Bay Area. The San Francisco Giants have faded away. We no longer have to talk about those jabronis or those, whatever you want to call that baseball team. So it's time to get fired up. We got a team that is close to winning a Super Bowl, that's talked about it all off season. We got premium players at multiple positions. It's a great time to be a Niner fan. How can you not be fired up? It's our time. Prime time, Thursday night football. Let's get better than this.
Love it, Bonta. Have a good one, man. Enjoy the game.
You guys too. Thanks for having me on.
There you go. That's Bonta Hill from 95.7, home of the 49ers. In case you missed it. Pretty amped up about the 49ers. And yeah, this is now I give the Giants credit. They came back. Everybody thought they were dead in the water against Arizona, and they came back, but no offense. Like Arizona and the 49ers. Yeah, this one is you look at 10 points is a lot, but I wouldn't be shocked. I think I would take the 49ers at 9.5, I guess it would be. I think I would take him, Cons. I think you know what? We got to get our Play Alberta picks in. Haven't made it yet. We got to do it before 5 o'clock. And you know what? I'm thinking about it. Thinking about it. So
when someone says shoebox game,
I do like.
You got to go for it.
Yeah, that was a great line. It's a shoebox game. Everything got in the shoebox. Throw it on them. So now some people's shoebox might be a quarter. It depends. A little bit older school used to have a lot of bills. Some people are like, what are you talking about? Shoebox. I don't have any bills in my house. Maybe I got a few toonies and loonies. I got no bills laying around. Right? The younger generation is like, what's this purple? What's this blue bill? I don't even know what it is. It's classic. I'm old school. I still like to carry cash. There's just something about having cash. I know how much I have all the time. I like it. It can be quick transactions sometimes in out. I know you can tap on everything. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Probably because I grew up with it. So that's what I'm used to. I tap a lot too. Don't get me wrong, but I do like having cash. I just think it's nice to have. A little bit of change of directions. Doug Waite's going to join us at 4:40. So we will do 5 questions when we return. We'll just switch those segments up, and we will still have Doug Waite before the top of the hour. It is the Jason Gregor Show live on Sports 1440. You can listen online, sports1440.ca. Download any of the apps, Stingray, iHeart, or, of course, on YouTube on the Oilers Nation channel. We'll return. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
New season, new start, new beginnings.
Jason. That's right. If you got any pick tonight, please send it in because we always do our Play Alberta 3 picks of the day. And we'd like a little parlay. It's $20. We do it every day. And then at the end of the month, anything that we make, we donate to a charity. This month it is for kids sport. And so far, hey, knock on wood, we're up. So let's try to keep it rolling. We always like to take at least one, sometimes two recommendations from you. So just remember, you got to be confident on why. And you always put a little explanation as to why you think that's one. Now, you can go to playalberta.ca and you can look. Obviously, there's a few different lines. If you want to go with the money line, you want to go straight up. We got lots of different stuff. So you can check it out at playalberta.ca. Doug Waite will be joining us in about 15 minutes time. So we'll switch up our segments. Usually we always have 5 questions at 4:40 today, but we are switching that as we get to 5 questions now, brought to you by The Brick, as their semi-annual sale is on now. Thousands of TVs in stock. You can save up to $1,000 off select big screens. It's free delivery on any TV bigger than 50 inches. So you know what? You're like, I don't have the vehicle to move it, but I got the room to where I want to put it. Well, guess what? The Brick will deliver it for free for you. Go to The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, Gregor, Connor McDavid starting camp with Connor Brown and Evander Kane on his wings. Do you like the combination, and do you expect that to be the line in game 1?
Well, I really think, Kane with McDavid makes more sense to me than Nugent Hopkins with McDavid. I think you'll see them both at times. But I think Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl, if you look, Nugent Hopkins has been more productive in games because they played kind of the same amount of time together the last few years. On about, I think, 30 minutes, maybe more with McDavid, but he has 8 more points playing with Draisaitl. Evander Kane, because of who they play against, too. McDavid obviously draws the toughest matchups. Right now, it's not like Draisaitl's getting the slugs, but McDavid gets usually the toughest ones. Evander Kane, to me, has been historically a more productive 5-on-5 player. He's bigger. He's more physical. I think that makes sense. And then it's Brown and Hyman. You can crunch some numbers that Hyman and Kane together don't necessarily gel and have great success. Small sample size. I think it's a total of 160 minutes, so it's not a massive sample size. So we have to take that into consideration. But so it makes sense, right? You look at Hyman and Brown are similar, yet a little bit different in how they play. They're both kind of dogged. So, I expect it to be fine. I don't have much of an issue, but I will say, like what they did in junior means absolutely nothing. Can I just say that? That was like 9 years ago. It's in junior, right? This is the NHL against the best of the best. I really don't think that you're going to see Connor Brown outscoring Connor McDavid, right? And having a ridiculously good season. I think he can have a good season. I think he's got a very good chance to have a career year, but I think we kind of got to be realistic about the expectations.
Yeah, you'd love to see Brown go out there 5-on-5 and have a lot of success. And with Evander Kane, I really like it. We've seen what McDavid can do with Evander Kane. I mean, those odd man rushes that they're able to create with Kane going to the net, McDavid's going to find you. And that's at times just happens. And Kane's shown that he can make that happen. So I do like this line to start off with a little bit of a swagger, a bit of a bully there with Evander Kane. Can't wait for week 1. Good debate, though, and good problems to have with all the depth that the Oilers do have that can circle into that top 6. Question number 2 for you, Gregor. Of course, the Oilers hiring Michael Parcati today, the Director of Data and Analytics. How do you think this is going to change how the front office evaluates talent?
It's a good question. It'll allow them some more information. I don't know if it changes it drastically. I think it's pretty clear, under Ken Holland, he wanted to get bigger bodies on the back end. Just look at guys he's drafted. Look at, who they brought in. Look at the size of their team, right? So, and really, if you look at the signings of Ken Holland, okay, so Zach Kassian contract, yeah, we can all agree, wasn't great. Guess what? Analytics teams have a contract that isn't great that they've signed, right? The analytics isn't going to make you error-free. I just want to make that clear. Will it change and suddenly they're going to go for vastly different players? I don't think so. I think it'll provide them with some more information on players and the style of players they want. I do think there's a chance that, and my understanding is Parquet, it's not just about player evaluation. There's going to be some scouting stuff in there as far as opponents and maybe what they like to do. So you might see some tweaks at certain times about systems. And keep in mind, it's not like you just play one system. right? I know people talk, oh, the orders, because everybody showed the one goal, Nurse coming up to the blue line and Fogle not reading it. Oh my God, it's a terrible system. They would do that play only in certain situations, right? They also played a pressure D. I actually watched them today. Look for the orders, the change in their defensive structure. It's going to be, I think, a little calmer, specifically for the centerman. I don't think the centerman's going to be moving around as much, only based on what I saw today. So I got to see it in a game, but that's what I saw today. Calmer gives the impression that, you know, they were rattled defensively last year. Keep in mind, the Oilers were 4th best in the NHL for expected save percentage for their goaltenders. They didn't give up a lot of and that's on high danger chances. They didn't give up a lot of high danger chances last year. They were quite good at it. So I don't think their defensive system was terrible, but they are going to have a few little tweaks. And based on what I saw today, that was the first one I picked out. I was like, okay, look at, I'm watching McDavid, then I'm watching Draisaitl. I'm like, oh, they just seem to be a little less active in the defensive zone. And you heard Ekholm yesterday talk about, we need to be more comfortable for long periods of time in our own zone, which means, quote, stay in your lane, right? And that's what I saw today when I was watching the practice. And again, you know, it's day 1 of training camp, but that to me looked like a little bit different. So long answer, Cons. I do think it'll give you some more information, but I don't suddenly think they're gonna be like, oh, well, now we want smaller, fast guys because of the data that it says. Like, I don't think that's going to change. I think it's saying they'll look for a certain player they want, a type of player they want, and then they'll say, you know, instead of maybe having 3 options, there might be 4 or 5 that Parkatti helps them uncover.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well. Just another voice in the room to provide something they might not have had. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what goes on with Parkatti going forward. Question number 3 for you, Gregor. It was a historic season last year for the Boston Bruins. What do you expect from them this year, down a couple key players?
Well, they're obviously regressing, like Captain Obvious here. Ooh, way to go, Lindgraber. But honestly, I could see the Bruins like dropping 30 points, 35 points, which is like going to be one of the biggest drops ever. But that still means they're a competitive team and they're a 100-point team. So their goaltending's good. I think their blue line's good. Their lack of centerman is a concern for me, no question. So I think they come back down to earth. I'll say this. I think Boston battles to be a wild card team. I don't even think they're a lock to make the playoffs. I think a good chance, but I think they'll be battling to be 7th and 8th.
Yeah, obviously a big drop off. We're not breaking too much news here. I think they were the only team last year, as I go through it, to have under 200 goals against. They only gave up 177. Interesting to see how they bounce back going down. Patrice Bergeron and Krejci, defensive guys. Can the goaltending be as good as it was last year? But tough division. Lightning, Maple Leafs, Panthers, Sabres on the rise, Sens on the rise. So I'm with you. I think it could be a wild card spot that they're battling for this year. Certainly going to be interesting. Question number 4. Saw today, Patrick Kane. Looks like he needs another month of rehab before he really gets going. But where do you think would be the best landing spot for number 88?
Well, I've said all along, the one team that has the most space, and I think is a team on the rise, is Buffalo. Like, they could, if he wants to get a decent contract, they can do it. I think that the way they're built, it could help them. I don't think it's a decision that's going to be made for a few months. So he would be one, and that's more geographically and an up-and-coming team. I think come December, January, he's going to look, and if he really wants to go to a contender, I'm not sure if I'd say Buffalo's a contender, even if they had Patrick Kane. I think they'd be a good team. Heck, they haven't been in the playoffs in 12 years, right? So you got young goaltenders. I don't care if they get Patrick Kane. I don't think that suddenly makes him a cup contender. I think it could make him for sure a playoff contender. So outside of Buffalo, I will go Carolina. To me, would be the ideal fit. They need a game breaker, and Patrick Kane, if he's healthy, he's a game breaker. He's so dynamic offensively. It's amazing. They got enough defense to go around. They got enough solid 200-foot players. You just want an absolute offensive star, and that's Patrick Kane's been that his entire career up until last year's playoffs when he had the hip issue. So I'm still going to go with Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, a luxury for him. I'm sure he's not going to be in a rush once he gets healthy. Find a team that he finds to be a contender and go there. I like Buffalo, though. I think he'd look great in that uniform. He's from the area. Don't know if how they'll be, looking in the standings at that point or where he'll want to go. But Buffalo, to me, would just be a great fit. see if it happens. Carolina, give them that star power up front. If he still has it, would be good as well. Final question for you. Bill Murray, turning 73 years old today. He's got a lot of them, but if you had to pick one, what is your favorite movie of his?
Ooh, favorite Bill Murray movie. I just want to say I think Groundhog Day is overrated. So just gonna throw that out there. Sorry, Groundhog Day. I don't mind, but the golf one with him, Caddyshack. That's the one that I think is overrated with Bill Murray. I'm probably gonna go old school. I'm gonna go Stripes.
Good pick.
Thought him and John Candy were quite funny in that movie.
This probably won't surprise you. Haven't seen Caddyshack, so
honestly, I don't like. Maybe it's because I never loved it at the time, and it hasn't aged very well at all, which is understandable. But I never thought it was that funny. I know. I'm sorry. I just didn't love it. It didn't resonate with me. But I thought Groundhog Day was quite funny. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I haven't seen Caddyshack, but that's well before your time.
I mean, I think I've seen is it O. Henry in the pool? I believe I've seen that scene. That kind of stood out. But yeah, haven't seen the movie. For me, I mean, there's some where he's a short cameo, like Zombieland is great, but I'll go with Scrooged. Certainly one you have to watch the holiday season. And
Scrooged.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bill's been in a lot of good movies. He's been
Ghostbusters. Classic.
Yeah, I know. We got a lot of texts flying in. How could you guys not say Ghostbusters from Billy? Fair, right? I never said I didn't like it. I just picked the one that Stripes was amazing to me, man. Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, John Candy is a classic, absolute classic film. If you haven't seen it, it's very old school, right? But I loved Stripes. Absolutely loved it.
I thought you might go Kingpin.
Kingpin was close. Like his hair in Kingpin is amazing. So I didn't, I love the start of Kingpin. There's parts where the end where I was like, didn't love it, but it stood up pretty well. So I think I like Ghostbusters more than Kingpin, actually. Ghostbusters was just such a classic.
Yeah. Second one dropped off though.
Yeah.
Did you see the new one or most recent Afterlife?
No, I haven't seen that.
Worth a watch.
Hey guys, what about Bob from Nash in New York? Also, Pooj is all over that one as well. Hey guys, St. Vincent, it's unheralded, but it's very good. From C. Patrick. Ooh. Okay, you know what? It is unheralded. I haven't seen it. So might have to. I don't want to ask Connor because I know the answer. So I've learned my lesson.
Haven't seen that one.
No.
It's a big list.
Yeah, well, honestly, that's not a movie that we can mock you over not seeing. Like when you hadn't seen like Forrest Gump and some other movies. Like
I've seen Forrest Gump.
I know you have now.
Braveheart. That was
Braveheart.
one I hadn't seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Had you seen Gladiator?
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite movies
Okay.
actually. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think.
Seen the good ones.
But I just go through the list of the movies we watched that you hadn't seen for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was just like, am I an idiot? Because I'm like, you haven't seen that? And I'm like, you'd think at some point I'd figure it out. Yeah, it's not a shock. Connor hasn't seen that. But there's that's not one that I can give you grief over. I just don't think not seeing unheralded is that big of a deal. So now we're getting lots of Jumping Jack Flash on there. So hey guys, agree on Kingpin. I'm heading out to milk the bull as we speak from Delta Valley Jeff. Be careful out there, Jeff. Be careful. And a few more votes from Lance and Paul and Steve for, I might have to go see St. Vincent now. I have to check it out. All right. When we come back, Doug Waite, newest member in the Oilers Hall of Fame. He will be officially inducted on the 26th of October against the New York Rangers. So think about that's a pretty big 5-day span there. You've got the Wednesday, they'll have something. Then on 26th, it's Doug Waite, Charlie Huddy night. Then on the 29th is the Heritage Classic, the Oilers and the Flames. And when you think of Doug Waite, it's hard not to think of Doug Waite against the Calgary Flames. What was it? NHL 99? Who was on the cover, Cons, with that goal?
Was the intro.
Intro.
We Can Be Heroes, I think. Playing the soundtrack. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to ask him. What was a bigger honor? Being on the intro of NHL 99 or the Oilers Hall of Fame? We'll find out next on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Japa Machinery Group knows that XCMG may not roll off the tongue.
I will be king, and you will be queen. For nothing will drive them away. We can beat them just for one day. We can be heroes just for one day.
442 on Edmonton Sports Leader. Sports 1440. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. And it's time for our big guest of the day, brought to you by Silent Rides Charter Company, one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies that will safely take you or your group to your next destination. Book your ride today at silentrides.ca. And our next guest, he might have a busload of friends and family and teammates coming into Edmonton on October 26th, as he will join a very distinguished group in the Edmonton Oilers Hall of Fame. Doug Waite joins us, one of only two players to have ever led the Oilers in scoring 7 times. Doug, congratulations. Welcome back to the show. How you doing?
How's it going, man? How's everything?
Hey man, things are pretty good. You know, I'm not as good as you. I'm not going in a Hall of Fame or anything, but you know what? We got a radio station back, so we're doing pretty good. Hey man, Hall of Fame's it's a unique opportunity. I know when players play, they always play for the team and everything like that. And you know, maybe afterwards you think about some personal accolades, but it's got to be pretty cool when you got the phone call.
Yeah, it was amazing to hear from Kevin and Mr. Nicholson, and you know, very honored and excited, and certainly proud to be joining all the great players, and with you know, the Oilers, such a amazing tradition and team, place to play. Yeah, it's pretty special.
Now, Doug, of course, being an American, like obviously you played hockey in Canada before, I would assume before you came to Edmonton as a young player, but like when you got traded from the Rangers to the Oilers, it was a unique trade because you and Esa and literally are switching dressing rooms a few hours before the game. So that in itself has to be a very unique memory. There's not a lot of players in the history of the game that do that. And then funny enough, your original NHL team is going to be the team you're playing against, or the Oilers play against, excuse me, on the 26th when your jersey will go up there. But kind of take me through kind of those early introductions for you into the organization, but then also getting to know Edmonton, the city.
Yeah, I think it certainly was a shock at you know, 22 years old, and you know, the Rangers kind of was all I knew, and you kind of think you'll be there forever as a dumb kid. You don't realize how much business there is in the game, but no, it was as hard as it was the acclimation was pretty easy because we had so many young players, you know, Glenn and Ronnie Lowe and all these, everybody was great to me. They gave me a lot of immediate responsibility, which was amazing to me, and something that, you know, people always joke when you're traded, it's great because you want it, but you know, they let me know right away that they had a lot of confidence in me and really wanted me to prosper. So that was a huge step in my career. Obviously, at the beginning, I think it was important to hear that. And like I said, we grew together as a team and had a lot of young players there, a lot of great veterans, you know, Kelly and Luke and Billy Ranford, and list goes on of guys that were accomplished that were helping us as young players in the league. But, you know, I fell in love immediately with the city and the fever they had for hockey. And I did play a lot. Growing up in Detroit, I put a lot of Canadian hockey teams and cities, but until you're in an NHL city on a regular basis, day in, day out, you don't really realize how infectious it is to the entire fan base, to the people that work for the organization, people that work with you, your teammates, everybody. So great 8.5 years of my life.
Doug, one of the funny stories I had heard was, you know, when you come into the Oilers locker room, you don't really know many of the guys. And, you know, you looked at the sheet and it's like, oh, there's Sean Podine. And you thought it was European based on the spelling of his name. Now, is that actually a true story?
Very true. Because Sean, believe it or not, if you know Sean, he's not very quiet. But during a game, he's not, he was pretty young too. And I think he was probably in the teens as far as how many games he had played. So he wasn't talking much, and I just remember saying SJOHN or OHN or whatever it was. I'm like, this guy's got to be from someplace in Sweden or something. And halfway through the game, he started talking to me, and I'm like, hey, where are you from? So I realized he was an American kid. But it is a funny story. We ended up rooming together for a couple of years and becoming friends. So that's completely accurate.
So you come into Edmonton and, you know, obviously for the first few years, those were some of the trying times for the team. But for an individual, it really allowed you to grow. You became kind of the go-to guy on the team. Everybody looked at you. There's lots of responsibility, and every hockey player wants that responsibility. And I felt like your personality, Doug, from when I met you, you were a very charismatic guy. You were outgoing. It was kind of easy for you to be somebody who could be a leader because you could just naturally talk to people. Like, was it that easy kind of becoming a leader for you?
I think we all were, because we were kind of, you know, on the same playing field. A lot of guys were maybe on their second team or getting the chance at a young age. And as I said, we had some really great veterans that didn't, of course, there was a lot more going on back then than there is now as far as how the younger guys were treated. But we were really treated immediately with a lot of respect and help. I lived with Kelly for 3 years, but the older guys would always take us under their wing and taught us good practice habits, but were really supportive as well. So we kind of grew together, and it just makes you feel more comfortable. No matter what job you're doing, if you're treated well within your organization and you enjoy the people you're working with, you're going to be better for it. And I think that was a huge thing. And as far as, the first 2 years were rough, but we kind of needed them. We went through hard times, went through them together. It wasn't pretty. But I think what you saw the last 6 years I was there, as far as our core of our team and how Slats brought us together and the things we accomplished, we didn't win a Stanley Cup, but it was a different era as far as, salary caps. And we battled. We made the playoffs 6 straight years, and we upset a couple great hockey teams, and we took some other teams to the brink. And, we were pretty proud of that performance. And I think that kind of just led me to the, really, I think a leadership role is pretty easy when you just trust everybody around you, and you don't feel like you're being judged, and you don't feel like you have to judge anybody else, because I think everybody was kind of in it for the same reasons. We wanted to get better and make ourselves better. So it was for that reason, and that reason only, was probably pretty seamless for me.
Doug Waite joins us, of course, going to be one of the new members of the Edmonton Oilers Hall of Fame. He will have that honor alongside Charlie Huddy on October 26th against the New York Rangers. Doug, that's a pretty big individual honor. Ranks right up there, I would think, with being in the intro of NHL 99. We had a lot of younger guys text in and the Doug Waite goal from Calgary. They all remember it. What did you think of that back then when you see yourself on the intro?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was it was just starting off, and it was becoming kind of a bit of a craze for not just people around, but the guys in the league and a lot of younger players. So I have a lot of people that bring that up to me. I never was a big gamer, but I certainly bought that thing, and I had played it a few times. So that was awesome. It was a fun goal to score. I don't really know what happened. I don't know what movie it is where I think I blacked out and things went well, but to beat Calgary and to score that goal, that was pretty fun.
You're like Will Ferrell in Old School, all right? You just blacked out. You don't know what happened. So
I blacked out.
It's very good. Now, Doug, one of the great things when you get honored up to a Hall of Fame, you want to have people who are along for the ride at different times. And, you had a lot of great teammates in Edmonton over the years. And I know one guy really close on the ice, but also off the ice. You guys had a lot of fun. We have one of your good friends joining us on the line now. He is, of course, the GM of the Minnesota Wild, Bill Guerin. Bill, welcome to the show. How you doing?
When you say that Doug Waite was like Frank the Tank, Will Ferrell in Old School, I mean, it couldn't be more accurate. Like Dougie definitely blacked out in that goal. And I can't believe
I'm so happy that William's joining us. You don't understand, Jake. We're going to get a lot of truth out of this interview, I have a feeling.
How many times did I have to set you up for this to happen?
Too many, Bill. You know what? You were the guy that came to me, and if I had 4 assists and he'd have 1 goal, he'd come over to me on the bus and go, "Are you okay?" And I'd be like, "What do you mean? We just won. I got 4 helpers." He goes, "No, you got shut out today, bud." Because goals were more important to Will. You were a goal scorer. Now,
the only thing I would set up for Doug is beers on the bar. That's about it.
I tell you.
Hey, Dougie, congratulations, man. This is unbelievable. It's, totally well-deserved. And, oh, my God. It was just great being an Oiler with buddy, and you're the best.
You guys, Bill.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say, you guys obviously were teammates in Edmonton, but you played for Team USA together as well. Can you talk, Bill, I'll let you answer first, and then Doug, just kind of, it seemed like a natural fit. You got a shooter and a playmaker, but that doesn't always naturally mean you guys are going to work together. Why did it work so well, Bill?
Well, I think just that. I mean, I think the type of game that Dougie played, the type of game that I played fits. But I think the most important thing was our friendship and our camaraderie and our we just love to play together. And I always tell the stories about Dougie, and Dougie always talks with his hands. And we'd get back to the bench and he'd be like, Billy, I'm going to do this. And he'd just start moving his hands around. If you could do that and pop over here, I'm going to hit you there. And we do it and we work at it. And I just thought the friendship and the camaraderie had just as much to do with our success as line mates as anything else.
Well, I'm going to add one thing too. And I think Billy exemplifies this as not only a player, but a general manager and everything he's done, and a father and a husband. Like he wants to be great. And I think I wanted that too. And I think we felt like we didn't want to have a bad game because we didn't want anybody splitting us up. And we enjoyed playing together and we did compliment each other. But I think we both wanted to win and we both wanted to get better. And I know that Billy has stories when he went on to Pittsburgh with Sydney. And, it's fun to be, well, I'm not putting myself in the conversation of that, but it's fun to be considered somebody that wants to make yourself better. And Billy brought me a lot of that. We had a lot of fun, but we got to practice, we worked, and we always wanted to score and we always wanted to win. So I think he just made me better. I was able to play with him on a lot of teams. So it was great.
Now, both of you guys, Doug Waite and Bill Guerin, joined us as we announced Doug Waite's going into the Oilers Hall of Fame. Both of you, of course, Bill's GM in Minnesota. Doug, you were in management in San Jose. Would both of you guys encourage your teammate or your players now to have as much fun as Doug Waite and Bill Guerin did off the ice?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, it's part of being a professional athlete, enjoying your life, and just don't miss things. I mean, honestly, there's different ways to have fun too. You have to enjoy your career, enjoy playing the game, and being an NHL player. The thing people ask me if I miss playing. I say I miss it every day. I don't miss all the workouts in the summer and stuff like that, but I miss being an NHL player in game day and have fun playing the game. Like practice, we always laughed at practice. We always had laughs on the bus, on the plane, hotels, and restaurants, whatever. During the games, it was just great. Enjoy being an NHL player because before you know it, it's gone.
And I don't think it's not about going out and having beers. I mean, having fun is getting to the rink at 3:30 before the game and talking to the trainers and kind of poking and prodding guys, making sure everyone's comfortable, whether it's a young guy or older guy, like making it like a family. I mean, I think that's one thing that we definitely did in Edmonton as we grew up together kind of. And Billy got there a little later, but he fit right in because he was in the same type of situation in New Jersey where everyone was relied on and everyone knew that they're going to have fun, but they knew one thing, that when the game came and the practice came, they're going to be there to work. And, that's part of it.
Bill, when you came into Edmonton, I think it was 97, 98, and, jumped right in and you got traded for Jason Arnott. Then you guys had, 4 really good years in Edmonton together. And I heard you guys like to play pranks. Now, do you guys play pranks on each other, or are you guys more teammates and pranking other guys?
No, Dougie and I were always together on everything. It was kind of like, we would never really, it was tough to do a prank on Dougie because we were always together.
Okay.
And we would always team up, and it was kind of like, a brother type thing. And, I could pick on Dougie or Dougie could pick on me, but you can't pick on him. So we would always, if something happened, we would always team up on somebody and make them pay double.
Do you guys have
plenty of occasions where Billy would, deny having anything to do with it? I would go down with it. But that's a different.
I was hoping you bought that. Sorry.
Now, Doug, Bill was a very aggressive player, right? Like, he was a unique guy, could score 35 goals, fight guys, no problem. You're pretty competitive yourself, but when you play with a guy like that, like, did he bring a new level of competitiveness out of you?
Oh God, 100%, 100%. And I think it happened the first year. I was never, I would fight once a year and I'd get mad or I'd do something. But the first time I got hit hard, I look up, and by the time I got up, he was already waxing the floor with a guy. And I think it brought just a new, I don't want to say bravery, but a new section of the game where it's like, those are important things. I mean, the game has changed and it's evolved a bit, but those were huge for a team like ours. And I think those are huge in leadership, and a lot of people don't want to admit it, but it was a big part of our game, the honesty and the sticking up for brethren. I don't think it has to happen after every big hit, but it was more so then, and I certainly learned from that. And he used to beat me up pretty good too, so he toughened me up a little bit too, so that helped.
No, hey, listen, I always knew too. Like Dougie's a tough guy. Like I think at one point in time, before Dougie got to the Oilers, he was with the Rangers and had two broken hands because he could throw both ways and beat somebody up. But you know what? For me, going into games that were going to be tougher in Calgary or Colorado or wherever we were going, Vancouver, I knew, hey, if I got in a jam, I knew Dougie was coming over the top rope and going to help me out. So it does. It gives you that confidence to go out there and do what you have to do and know that your buddy's going to be right behind you.
Bill Guerin, Doug Waite joins.
Well,
go ahead,
know
Doug.
that I broke my hands because I used to tuck my thumbs in. I didn't know how to throw a punch.
Well, we fixed that, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Bill, you've been around the league for a long, long time. Can you kind of put it what it means for you to see one of your close friends and a good teammate get one of the ultimate individual honors to go into a team's Hall of Fame?
You know what? It just honestly, it makes me so happy. It makes me just honestly warms my heart because I know what Doug Waite put into his game, his career, and what he gave to the Edmonton Oilers and what the Edmonton Oilers mean to him. And I couldn't. I mean, hey, look, the number of great players that have gone through Edmonton is incredible, and Dougie Waite belongs there, right there with him. And I couldn't be more happy, more proud. I'm thrilled for him.
Well, we wanted you to be part of it to surprise Doug a little bit. Bill, thanks for joining us. I know it's a busy day. You had 3 skates today with the Wild. Great luck there.
You guys send me my check.
Yeah, we will. We'll send you your check. And hopefully you and some of your teammates are going to be able, I know you're super busy. Obviously got a pretty important job as the GM of the Wild that I don't know if you'll be able to make it into Edmonton or not that night, but I'm sure there'll be quite a few of Doug's teammates there.
I'll make it.
There you go. And Doug, thanks so much, Bill, for joining us. Doug, congratulations. We got so many texts coming in from fans. I just want to mention one last thing, because obviously the Hall of Fame is about being an Oiler on the ice, but I also think a lot of it is somebody who's on the voting board that, making an impact in the community. And you and your wife, Allison, you guys, you didn't just play here in Edmonton. You lived here and you got behind a lot of different initiatives. Can you maybe just talk about why that was important to you?
Yeah, I think, as a first-year player in New York, I think it was kind of it was a whirlwind for me. And I think when I got to Edmonton, I just saw how many things that we were a part of in the community, what it meant for the children of the community, but the people of the community. And I think it just was a perfect stage. And the organization, led us all us young players in the right direction as far as talking about how important it is to become a piece of that community. So that was fun for me, having Allison join me in Edmonton a year or two down the road. It was great. We got to do a lot of work with some different organizations, the Cancer Society. We bought a box and we were able to, I still have those letters that people will write and it means a lot. So I think it's a great community, great people out there. And I'm lucky to have had Canada part of my life for so long. It was just a great experience.
Well, Doug, well-deserved. Congratulations. Going to be a huge honor. And you go in with Charlie Huddy. It's a pretty good class. Doug Waite and Charlie Huddy together, October 26th. The Oilers will take on the Rangers, and they'll have the big ceremony beforehand. We look forward to seeing you then. And best of luck with the San Jose Sharks this season.
Two things. I'm so excited to be going in with Mr. Huddy. Charlie is the best. He's a great man, obviously a great player, but I got to know him quite well. So that'll be another big piece of the honor. And secondly, Billy's not joking. Like, he really is going to be calling and asking for that tote bag you're going to promise him. So get it out to him.
I will make sure. You know what? I'll get one. I'll get it signed too. Yeah, we'll get it signed for him.
Good deal. I can't wait to see you guys.
You betcha, Doug. Good talking to you again.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
You betcha. There's Doug Waite alongside Bill Guerin. So shout out Brad Slater, killing it as our executive producer alongside Connor Halley, getting those guests on the show today. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Mark Spector will join us, talk a lot about day one of training camp. No Ryan McLeod, no Matthias Ekholm. Doesn't sound that serious. So, but we'll see how that goes. First, the sports 1440 update brought to you by Edmonton Kubota. Super pumped to have Sports Talk Radio back in town. So excited that right now they got a great deal. 0% financing for 84 months on all compact BX tractors. Shop online at edmontonkubota.com or go see them in store on 156th Street.
Michael Parcotti has been named the Oilers Senior Director of Data and Analytics. Parcotti will work closely with the Hockey Operations Department. Major League Baseball tonight, the Jays are in action again on the Yankees once again. That one gets going right away. Also, got the Braves taking on the Nationals, the Orioles in Cleveland. Phillies host the Mets. Tigers take on the Athletics, and the Dodgers host the Giants. Earlier today, Rays knocked off the Angels 5-4, and the Brewers blanked the Cards 6-0. Week 3 in the NFL gets going tonight with the Giants heading to the Bay to take on the 49ers. Kickoff set for 6:15. You can join Brandon Douglas at the Fort Sask Canadian Brewhouse for a chance at the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Sportsnet's Mark Spector, as well as Edmonton Elks wide receiver Manny Arsenault.
This has been a Sports 1440 update.
McCafe now has cold brew beverages, and they're smooth. Made with 100% Arabica beans, steeped cold and slow for an irresistibly smooth
Doug,
taste.
congratulations.
McCafe
Welcome
cold
back.
brew beverages.
I don't mind you coming here, wasting all my time. 'Cause when you're standing oh so near, I kinda lose my mind. It's not the perfume that you wear, it's not the ribbons in your hair. And I don't mind you coming
Welcome
here.
back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. Thanks again to the Sharks in the Wall for helping set up Doug Waite, and a little surprise guest, Bill Guerin. Is Doug Waite going into the Oilers Hall of Fame on October 26th. What's that, 5 weeks from today exactly? It's a Thursday night. So there you go. Many of you, definitely, if you are a big fan of the Oilers, at any time, I think most Oiler fans, they know the history. But if you were a fan of the Oilers in the mid 90s to the early 2000s, when Doug Waite was played in Edmonton for 8 seasons, I think it'll be a pretty special night. Lots of fans like to go back and kind of see one of the players who was their hero and see them get honored, hear what they have to say. So Doug Waite, a very well-spoken guy. So I would expect he's probably going to have a pretty good speech, I would guess. So we'll see. It is the Gregor Show, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, and it's time every day. This time we're joined by Mark Spector as we get to the Spec Report, brought to you by GS Construction, as they are on the cusp of celebrating their 50th anniversary, and they're hiring. Go to Indeed.com and look up GS Construction. It's a great company to work for. They got staying power, got a great culture. GS Construction, as Mark Spector from Rogers Sportsnet joins us. The 23-24 season, I guess, Spec is officially underway now as training camp. Players were all on the ice. No Ryan McLeod, but doesn't sound like it's anything that serious. A little bit of a soft tissue issue alongside Ekholm, who's got like a strained hip pointer, or a tight hip pointer, hip flexor, I should say. Ryan McLeod, it's interesting. I saw his weight, right? Like, he's a young guy. He's 20, just turned 23, and he's got a decent sized frame. Him now listed at 207. With the way he skates. The one thing that stood out to me in the playoffs, I thought Ryan McLeod elevated his physical game, like playing, as Todd McClellan used to say, inside of guys. And when you add a little bit of strength, which usually should come with some muscle, that's going to allow him maybe to play there a little bit more.
That's what you want out of McLeod. Watching him earlier in the season and even earlier in the playoffs, turn away from checks, right? The best hitters are always the fastest guys, because they get on you quicker than everybody else does, and you're vulnerable to get hit. And when you'd see McLeod get on someone and you'd say, oh boy, here's a chance to pound on Pietrangelo or one of those defensemen that you beat on every chance you get. And he'd turn away, you'd go, oh man, come on, we need that hit here. So that's what the coaches are telling him. I guarantee you the coaches are telling him that. And he'll figure it out like every young player. He's fast. He's big. If he's weighing a little bit more, that could be a vital role for him.
Watching today, and I know it's only day one of camp, but you had basically all the NHL guys or guys competing for NHL jobs in session number one. Drake Caggiula might be the only guy who has a chance who wasn't in that group. Yeah. And maybe that means he doesn't have much of a chance, so we'll see. But as I was watching it, Spec, Evander Kane said something yesterday in his press conference that, they've subtle little tweaks to their system. I watched them defensively in some of the drills that they were doing, and it definitely seems one of the things I've noticed, the center iceman wasn't like, they just seem to be a little bit, not standing still, because that makes it sound like they don't want to do anything, but just not as busy, if that makes any sense. Did you catch on anything like that? Did you see the same thing I saw today?
Do you think that's more zone instead of man, or what do you think?
Well, it might be a hybrid combination. Like when the Oilers didn't play man-to-man a lot. I know that one video got a lot of traction because it was Nurse and Fogle. And they played specific man-to-man on certain situations depending on what the puck carrier did. and where the winger was and the position on the ice, right? If the guy was in the middle of the ice, you would never chase him, but they wanted him if it was up the wall. That was one time where they wanted the D-men to stay with him. But a lot of other times they played a pressure defense where guys would just attack automatically down low, who's ever close. It wasn't necessarily man-to-man. So is it a little bit of a zone? Maybe, because if you combine what Kane said and then you combine what Ekholm said, where you've got to be comfortable that sometimes you might spend 30 seconds in your own zone, and we don't want you suddenly running around, right? So it's kind of, when I say it was less busy, I think it's just more so getting comfortable saying, you know what, I can stay here, and it doesn't mean I have to run over there and help this guy and run over there and help that guy. And that's just day one, but that was my first impression of maybe a small change.
Well, I remember that Ekholm quote quite vividly because my ears perked up too. What he said was, you got to be okay with playing in your zone for a full minute and continue to play the system we're trying to play. His quote was, you can't play it for 30 seconds and then go off on your own program, and now we're all just running around, right? So, you know, I got to, this isn't like the analytics world. Obviously, they want, you know, they reward. There's a lot of statistics that reward defensemen who get the puck out quick, right? Get it on the tape and get it out. Puck transition, first pass succession, all those things, they all count. They're all important. But what you have to realize is there are going to be times when you're stuck in your zone for a minute. I don't care how good you are. It doesn't mean you're having a bad shift or you're a bad player or something bad's happening. The other team's trying too. So Ekholm, there's Ekholm. He's in everybody's books, he's an excellent defenseman. And he's talking to us yesterday about the times that he's stuck in his zone for the full minute. Hey, it's going to happen, and you got to be able to survive it. That means your forwards, that means your defensemen, you know, look it in the eye and say, okay, they've got us this shift. Let's get to a whistle and not get scored on. And that's what Ekholm's talking about. And I think that's what you want to see from an Oilers team that's maybe been pretty good in the first 30 seconds for a while here, but they don't always get through the full minute, do they?
Yeah, a lot of times it's becoming comfortable when you're uncomfortable, right? And just learning, because I get it. And I don't care. Nobody likes it when you're defending for too long, because you just feel like, oh, if for some reason it feels more, you get more tired, you're taxed, it's emotional, it's physical and all that. And so if you can just look at, I know Strutty used to talk about it, and Sean Brown said the other day, goes, sometimes, you know what, man, it's just, you don't have to win the shift, just break even. And even if it's territorial, it looks like the other team, because if you could let them cycle around the outside and they want to settle for outside shots, you'll take that all day long. Who cares? Fire away from there, right? And that's, so it is something to watch for. It's hard in preseason because A, the opposition, B, the lineup isn't, you know, it's 8, 9, 10 veterans at times, at least the first few preseason games anyway. So it's more so what you pick up in practice. And for anybody who's going to go to the scrimmage on Saturday, that would be a time to watch to see what the little subtle changes are there. East defensive zone, they didn't do much neutral zone work today, so I can't comment on the neutral zone stuff that Evander Kane had hinted at yesterday. So that's obviously going to come up in another day. Mark Spector here on the Jason Gregor Show.
I covered that game. I covered that game when Esatikanen got traded for Doug Waite.
yeah, in New York, right underneath the. Basically, they just changed rooms, moved their bag from one down.
Went to the morning skate, and Doug Waite was some guy for the Islanders. He'd been rumored, to come into Edmonton in a couple of things. And in the morning, he was a Ranger, and we got to the rink for, at 4:30 for a 6:30 game, whatever it was. And darn if he wasn't a Edmonton Oiler. And, again, as he was saying, his family didn't know. There was no cell phones and all that. It was a lot of fun. It was a weird day.
Well, think about that trade. Like, there's a trade that works out for both teams, right? The New York Rangers, they get Esatikanen and they win a cup. And the Oilers get Doug Waite, who becomes basically their leading scorer for 8 years, right? Just under a point-a-game player for those 8 seasons in Edmonton.
Yeah, I don't know. Glenn Sather hated that part of his tenure here, trading off all those good players he brought in, and his owner was selling guys, and it was over at that point, and he knew it. But give him credit; he made a hell of a trade there. You're right. That trade was like Calgary trading a Nieuwendyk for a Ginla, right? Very similar. Edmonton gets Wade; he's good for a long time, and Tikkanen was good for a short time in New York, but they won a Stanley Cup. That's all they wanted.
Yeah, 100%. So it worked out. Now you look at the orders spec, and it's very early. It's one day, but Sutter, Peterson, that's the battle for the fourth line center. You can throw in maybe Raphael Lavoie, and Adam Ernie thinks, hey, maybe if he blows the doors off that he can somehow earn himself a contract too. But Brandon Sutter today was interesting talking to him just about what he went through with the long COVID and how it really just, it's his immune system. And he had real bad issues with shortness of breath. And it took a long time. And he had a lengthy conversation with Jonathan Taves about a year into it. And he said it was just kind of a relief to hear from someone else and get his opinion on it. And then the last 4 months for him, last 6 months, I should say, but really since July, that's when he said, okay, you know what? I can skate. And so he started skating every day. And I'm intrigued to see, I don't expect him to be, what he was as a 28-year-old. Heck, I don't care if you don't miss any games when you're a 34-year-old, unless you're an elite player. Rarely are you the same as you were when you're 28. But he hasn't had much miles on his body. Obviously, he's had an immune system that got ravaged by a virus. But I'm very curious to see what he has, because he doesn't have the contract. Peterson has the contract, but Peterson doesn't have the resume that Sutter has.
Well, I'll tell you what. For what I know about Ken Holland, and we've been watching him here for 5 years, I'm looking at a fourth line here with Matthias Janmark on the left side and Derek Ryan on the right side. And if Brandon Sutter can play, Brandon Sutter in the middle. You're looking at a bunch of guys. Brandon's played almost 800 games. Janmark is a veteran player, and Ryan is played the least games of them because he started his career at 29. But to me, when I look at championship teams and I look at all the, I've been to a lot of cups, covered a lot of good teams over the years, not enough of them in this city lately, but I think that's starting to change. When I look at those teams, Jason, and I look at their fourth lines, they don't have kids on them. They don't have young guys on the way up. They don't have kids who are trying to bump around the league. They don't have guys, who you're wondering, geez, I don't really know what Lane Peterson's game is like. Nothing against Peterson, but he ain't Brandon Sutter. So to me, if ever there is a job that is Sutter's to lose, that is, I don't care what Peterson does. If Sutter's good, he gets the job 1,000%. And look at that fourth line. How do you like that for a fourth line, Jay? 3 veteran guys who all know how to check, 2 good face-off men. They all kill penalties. You got good size. That is the kind of fourth line that a cup winner has.
It's interesting, though. I was looking at the combinations because I think Pettersson was kind of holding Ryan McLeod's spot. And they had McLeod or Pettersson with Fogle and Ryan. And you had Holloway with Sutter and Janmark. Janmark moved over to the right side. He can play both sides. He says it doesn't matter to him. And it was just interesting because then you have Fogle and Holloway on each line with some speed. And now maybe they'll switch it around at different times, but they liked Fogle, Ryan, and McLeod at times last year a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Fogle when McLeod returns with Derek Ryan to start.
Well, it's 82 games, and that's the beauty. You get to move it around and figure stuff out and all that. I'm kind of jumping to game 6 in a playoff series when you got a 3-2 lead and there's 4 minutes left, right? Who's going over the boards at left wing? In that situation with Sutter and Ryan, is it going to be Holloway or is it going to be Janmark? That's kind of what I'm getting at. When you need a penalty killed, when you need a shift where you're not getting scored on, and it's the chips are down, man, and we're in May or maybe June. I'm not saying there's not a place in your team for Holloway. There certainly is. But at that moment, if I'm throwing Sutter and Ryan over the boards at left wing, I'm probably not throwing a rookie out there with him in that situation. How about that?
Could be right. Spec, we'll chat more about it. We'll see how it unfolds. And then, of course, open practice Saturday and first preseason game Sunday and then Monday in Winnipeg. Have a good one.
All right. I'll see you tonight.
It's Mark Spector. That's right. He will see us tonight. Having a little gathering. I like it. It's a Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. When we come back, big game tomorrow night. The Elks are rolling. Can they get a point against the BC Lions? We'll find out from the veteran offensive player next on the Jason Gregor Show, live on Sports 1440 and Orders Nation YouTube, presented by PlayAlberta.ca and live in the eWell studio, EWEL.ca.
and construction. During these days of traffic barricades and slower commutes, GS Construction reminds you those crews are improving our communities. They're rehabilitating and upgrading Edmonton's infrastructure all across the city. When you see the barricades and run into a traffic backup, remember the crews are there to help. Drive slow and be patient. Help make our city better and join the GS Construction team. See what they're hiring for on Indeed.com. GS Construction, laying the groundwork for your community since 1974.
At The Brick, we're not just proud of this city and its rich sports history. We're proud partners of it. The Brick started right here in Edmonton over 50 years ago. And when we're not cheering on the Oilers and Oil Kings live at the game, or the Edmonton Elks under the bright stadium lights, we're in our stores, providing everything you need to cheer them on in your home. The Brick, supporting Edmonton sports teams and fans since 1971, saving you more.
PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website, features a variety of responsible gambling tools such as a time clock, deposit limits, and more. Remember, if you gamble, use your game sense. Visit GameSenseAB.ca to find out more.
What's cracking at Cattail Crossing Golf and Winter Club? Kick off your week with unbeatable savings. Enjoy half-price golf from Monday to Thursday. Elevate your game without emptying your wallet. Book your tee time today. CattailCrossing.ca.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is sounding the call. Don't struggle through winter with a furnace you can't trust. For maintenance before winter strikes,
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
For furnace tune-ups and repairs to give peace of mind.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Or to scrap your old furnace for a brand new high-efficiency one.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
And with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your new furnace, it's gotta be Legacy Heating and Cooling.
McCafe now has cold brew beverages, and they're smooth. Made with 100% Arabica beans, steeped cold and slow for an irresistibly smooth taste. McCafe cold brew beverages, for a limited time only at participating McDonald's.
Hey, Alberta drivers, new rules are in place to protect roadside workers. Now, when you see first responders, tow trucks, or highway maintenance vehicles with flashing lights on the side of the road, you must move over if it's safe to do so. If you can't move over, slow down to at least 60 kilometers an hour. Help protect Alberta's roadside workers. It's the law. Learn more at alberta.ca/roadworkersafety. A message from the Government of Alberta.
McCafe now has cold brew beverages, and they're smooth. Made with 100% Arabica beans, steeped cold and slow for an irresistibly smooth taste. McCafe cold brew beverages, for a limited time only at participating McDonald's.
I-26. Lots of text flying in at 833-401-1440. Brett with 1T, Norman a combine, iMac. Huge fans of the interview with Waite and Garen. Guys, great idea to bring on both of them and one of Waite's teammates. Yeah, hey, give a big shout out to the Slate man, Bradley Slate. That was all his idea, our executive producer. We love it. Really good idea. And big thanks to the Sharks and Wild for making that happen. I like it. And hey, speaking of making it happen, suddenly the Elks have been making it happen lately. They are 4-1 in their last 5 games and playing pretty well. I would say quite well, to be honest. As it's time now, get to the CFL report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home to no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Stay warm all winter. LegacyHeating.ca. And we are joined by a veteran receiver of the surging Elks, Manny Arsenault, joins us. And Manny, things can change quickly in pro sports. Obviously, the start was not what your team wanted. You make a change at offensive coordinator, you make a change at quarterback, and it's really injected some life into the team. And I got to think, just a lot more fun atmosphere. Everybody likes winning. I don't care what age you're at, but when it's your job, it must be a lot more fun. Can you maybe just talk about, how those changes have really energized your group?
I would say as a whole, I think
the bigger picture, I think guys are more locked into the details. And like you say, winning brings about confidence. It brings about more trust. So in all three phases, I think the locker room is able to count on the guy on side of them a little bit more, other than thinking that each individual can win the game on his own, which led us to points where we wasn't able to finish games early in the year or come together as an offense, defense, and special teams. But I think getting that first win or the second one, then you see the third one come along, you know what, it just brings about the trust factor, but the attention to detail and having a sense of urgency amongst the group and the entire locker room. When we just look at it from a football perspective, being inside the organization or inside that facility with the guys. But like you say, everybody likes winning. You know, the city supports you more. You know, fans get behind you. It's just a better morale and energy that's in the city of Edmonton, being to the slow start that we got off to, but to be able to turn things around and just start playing football and winning games is, you know what, like you say, it's fun.
Manny, the one big thing for your team now, and I don't even say this, smart assly or anything like that. Obviously, guys haven't had the offensive success that you'd want against BC, to put it politely, this year. 2 shutouts, it's almost unheard of. But now you roll in with a lot of confidence. What do you feel your offense? You've got more confidence. You feel guys can rely on. But what did BC do to stifle you so much offensively that you have to, as a group, ensure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, man, you just got to find ways to finish. RP got those guys playing a good brand of football over that way. That bend but don't break type of mentality. But I just think for us, man, it's not so much about the BC Lions and the 2 shutouts that they didn't had. It's really that you versus you and doing your job aspect. So I figure if we execute our assignment and do what we're supposed to do at the end of the game, everything else will take care of itself. But you can't go into this game with the mindset of, you know what, this is a team that didn't shut us out twice, or this is a team that's battling for first place, or, it's good to respect your opponent, but at the same time, don't forget to give yourself credit. And when you look at the standings and just the, I would say the streak, or just the I don't even know the word for it, but when you look at the standings and everything at teams, it's easy to place everyone above the Elks due to how we started off. So I know for us, it's about taking care of our business and relying on the guys that's over in that facility that shows up every day, putting in the work. But it's just one of those positions we put ourselves in as a team, not being able to finish early on. And, BC took advantage of that. But they know just as well as we know that isn't the same Elks team that was shut out twice. But at the end of the day, we have to come out, play 4 quarters of football, finish, and find ways to make plays, and as an offense, stay on the field.
Manny, you've been around the CFL since 2009. You've seen a lot in the CFL and even in the NFL. I don't want to compare him to anybody, but what excites you most about a young Trey Ford when you're in the huddle, or maybe even when you're watching him on the field? What's the wow moments for you?
I guess it really don't excite me till we break down the film the next day, and I actually see what he did, because it's either I'm out there blocking or going out for a route and seeing the play break down. He scrambles to make something happen, but I really don't get to see what y'all see from the TV copy until the next day. But like I tell people, man, that's a kid. Well, not a kid. That's a young man that's taking advantage of his opportunity. He patiently waited, and now I'm giving a chance. He's doing what any next man up should do, and that's when the time is this time. You go out there and execute, make the most of it. But what he's doing, like I told him, man, it's kind of bigger than him. This for that next Canadian kid that one day that might want to be a quarterback in the CFL. And you know how it is when it gets to that. But he's doing something, man, that's bigger than him, being able to give kids out there, whether it's in youth sports or the Canadian universities, hope, man, that one day they can be out here quarterbacking in a CFL game. So his success, man, not only helping the organization, but man, I think it's helping people spread out all through Canada by his play and what he's accomplishing right now and achieving while being out there on the field.
You know what? That's really well said. It's bigger than him. You're right, because it's been such a long time for the CFL to have a Canadian quarterback who can, be a difference maker, not just out there. Like, he's one of the most exciting players in the game right now, and he excites his own teammates, and he's incredibly well spoken. We had him on the show earlier this week. He's a very level-headed guy. And the thing is, like, he hasn't had a massive amount of reps. You've seen quarterbacks, a few years in, and then all of a sudden they explode, and you're like, oh my goodness, this guy's going to be dominant. And I think we're kind of seeing that right in front of our eyes with Trey Ford. It's just, Jarius Jackson has certain calls, and Trey Ford talked about how he's not putting him in situations to fail. He's putting him in situations to succeed. And as he sees more, it's just, the opportunities are endless, because eventually teams might try to stop him running, which I think is going to be very difficult because of that one spin move. But once he becomes even more comfortable throwing the ball downfield, my goodness, it'd almost be unstoppable.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, man. Trey's a quarterback. Everybody have their opinions and say he runs too much, he does this or that, but that's when plays break down and he's finding ways to extend plays. The guy can throw, he can run, pass, all the above, but regardless, man, as you can see in this game, you can't please everybody, and people gonna have their opinions, but this guy's out here making plays, he's finding ways to extend plays, and he's giving us opportunities to be in ball games. At the end of the day, and that's the thing that matters most. But the biggest thing, man, consistency is key. So all I want him to do is continue to keep doing what he's doing, and each week find ways to improve and get better.
Manuel Arsenault joins us. Manny, with all your experience, and you kind of, you went away from football for a bit, then you came back to the CFL, and you're not a coach. It's not your responsibility to coach. Obviously, your responsibility is to play and know the playbook and everything like that. But a lot of your teammates talk about how, like, Manny's kind of like the older brother almost, a little bit bordered onto the dad. I don't want to say you're old, but you know what I mean? Like the sounding board for guys who can give them advice. How much is that? How serious is that responsibility for you? And how comfortable are you having that responsibility?
Man, to whom much is given, much is required. But you know what? I embrace the role. That's why I'm still playing. I play for those guys that's in that locker room, man. And like you said, I've been around the game long enough to the point, man, giving these guys tools and resources to be successful on the field and off the field is the biggest thing. And what you see a lot of the times is non-football is what keep guys out of football. So that's the first order of business, is to handle your business and never forget why you're here, And they kind of respect that from a guy that's been there, done that, been at the top of the mountain, didn't hit rock bottom, but found ways to shake back. And sometimes when you're around someone that's been in those trenches and actually live in what it is that they preaching, it's easy to gravitate towards that and respect it. And like for me, guys come up to me, and that's the best part about it, where I don't have to, you know what I'm saying, pull a guy to the side or try to tell them things. It's hey, OG, man, you got a second? Or how would you deal with this situation? But that's what you need, man. Veteran guys around that's just going to help shape, mold, and set the culture in the locker room for a team. And, sometimes it's hard when you just got the blind leading the blind, So being able to be a voice for these guys, man, and just teach them the ropes, that's what it's all about. And that's what keep you around and bring that excitement about playing the game. Because at the end of the day, it's a brotherhood. You can't play football forever. And something about football, man, it shrinks the world and connects the dots. And throughout the United States and throughout North America, being that we up here in the CFL. But it's just something that comes natural. And when I came into the game, I had veterans around me that gave me the game. So it's only right for me to give the game back while I'm out here playing still.
No, it's fantastic. And we mentioned your quarterback, your offensive line's been absolutely shredding it. The running game, it's like 150 yards for free. And also, receiving core and their blocking assignments and Brown running the ball. Like Trey Ford's been a great playmaker here lately, but I can't overlook just the contribution that's Brown's made for this group. And, you've been that difference maker guy lots in your career, Manny, where, you go into the game, you're expected to make a lot of big plays, and your team now has a lot of guys offensively that are playmakers.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, man. Let the game come to you. And I know a lot of times, man, you want that TSN top 10 play, or you want to pull up the CFL.ca and you're in the top 3, top 5 statistically. But sometimes you just got to chop wood, carry water, and be consistent week in and week out. And the numbers and individual accolades going to take care of itself. But more importantly, it's about these team wins and setting yourself up at the end of the year for a chance to get in the playoffs. And that's the thing, man. It's all about getting hot at the right time. But you know how it is. Guys have families to feed and different things of that sort. So you always want to get the numbers and have the stats so you see where you rank amongst the others. But sometimes, man, a lot of stuff, everything happens for a reason. And you might not be that big number guy or have those flashy plays, but you keep chipping away at it and things will take care of itself. And look at KB, his first ever 1,000-yard season in his career. Everybody wasn't big on him or talking about him, but he stayed with it, kept at it. We've been able to turn things around. And now you're looking he top 1, 2, or 3 throughout the running backs in the CFL, and creating his own buzz. But it's all about a team effort and those guys up front, and defense doing everything to give us the opportunity to stay on the field. But it's gonna soon come. Like you got Gino, you got Kyron Moore, we call him Swerve, Gavin Cobb doing this thing. Dylan Mitchell, he got hot last year and he's gonna heat up this year. Dunbar, we can get him back. But everybody's able to contribute in whichever way. And that's the good thing about our receiving core is that everybody's game is different and bring a different aspect. Now it's about showcasing them. But each week is going to be somebody's week. And whoever that guy is, you got to go out there and make the most of it. But right now, Trey Ford and KB, we leaning on those two. And everything else going to take care of itself as far as spreading the ball around to the receivers and letting those guys light up and do their thing.
Manny, great stuff, man. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Continued success, and should be an exciting crowd tomorrow night to watch the Elks versus the Lions. Continued success.
Oh, man, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Manny Arsenault. The Manny Show. Or actually, it's Manny Show 84 on Twitter. Man, he's really well-spoken dude. Very well-spoken. He's obviously not a surprise. He's done a lot of public speaking and embracing his role as a guy who used to be the number one go-to receiver. He still catches balls. What is it, up to like 143 consecutive games? Got to catch. He's reliable. But, he does a lot of the things that his teammates don't overlook, but maybe get overlooked by media and fans at times. Just, the blocking and different things. Very effective player. Come back. What a show it's been today. The McCon Man and Slates are killing it. We will come back. We got a lot of text to get to in our Jiffy Lube inbox, 833-401-1440. It's Gregor Halley with you on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Thinking about solar power? Action Electrical wants to eliminate your entire home or business power bill and keep more cash in your pocket. With effective paybacks in 5 to 9 years, give solar a chance with Action and put your lazy room to work. Alberta is the second highest province for the amount of full sunlight hours, and with system life exceeding 25 years, solar power is like a McDavid draft pick.
Yeah, that's right.
Questions about solar power? Contact the professionals at actionelectrical.net today. That's actionelectrical.net.
At Toyota, we build quality trucks with you in mind because everyone loves
Yeah, a little bit nervous.
Washed his hands, sealed his face. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guessed my name. But what's puzzling you is the nature of my game. Stuck around saying.
Welcome back, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you as we wrap up. What a show today. If you missed anything, where were you? Hey, don't worry. Get the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, or you can rewatch it on YouTube. If you like, all the individual interviews are up at jasongregor.com. We had Doug Wade, Bill Guerin joined in to surprise his former teammate as he's going up on the Oilers Hall of Fame. Manny Arsenault, man, he was great. Of course, we had Terry Ryan early for 2 hours. We had Livingston, a little racing. Fluto Shinzawa, great report on the Boston Bruins and where they're at and their search for a centerman. Hello. I got a milk carton looking for centerman. So we'll see. Charlie Coyle, can he step up? Who knows? Bonta Hill, 49ers look pretty good. Bosa. Bosa's like, it was half for a sack. This is the easiest bet ever. Get in on it. Are you kidding me? They got 2 injuries on the O-line. Heck, tonight might be the night. Bet 2 sacks for Bosa. Honestly, might be one. Now, I'm not saying it's a shoebox bet, but it's good. Let's see. Now, let's get to the conversation. Brandon Sutter addressed the media today, and we start out. I just asked him, "Hey, you feel like a rookie a little bit as you're back in training camp for the first time in 2 years?"
Yeah, a little bit nervous again for first time in a long time, but not as good. I was able to come in the last couple of weeks, get comfortable a little bit, and always good to get the first couple of days over with. So so far it's been good.
It's a very rare situation to go 2 years without playing. And do you have a sense of how you feel now? Because I think people see the skill and the smarts. It's more so, is cardio the only real issue that you envision, or maybe just kind of getting the pace of the game?
Yeah, I think you just first and foremost getting your body back into it after 2 years, and I'm 34 years old now, and it's never easy playing at this level, and you got to respect that everyone here is in prime shape. So it's been a lot of work getting to this point, and I'm just happy to be feeling good here now. And like I said, you get the first couple of days over with, start feeling yourself a little bit, and get the cardio going, and so far so good.
Brandon, I know your story's well documented, but can you kind of take us back to the timeline and how it all kind of happened?
How much time you got? Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into too much too specific, but the hardest part was just figuring out for the longest time what was actually wrong. And once I got that kind of narrowed down, I was able to work through it. It just took a long time to get there. And the last probably 8 months, 6-8 months was when I noticed, I started noticing a difference. I started feeling like myself again and got my breath back. I had this horrible shortness of breath for about 2 years. And once I got able to get that back, started training again, and I just kept improving, and I kind of hit a point this summer. I said July I'm gonna start skating like I normally would for a normal season. And after about 3 or 4 weeks, I was pretty confident. And at that point, just talked to my agent, started making calls, and just happy it worked out here. So like I said, I'm just happy to be here, happy for another opportunity, and it's a great spot to be. So trying to make the most of it.
It's gonna be scary because not a lot is known about. To you, the season, not a lot is known about COVID. Like
Yeah, and it's you hear the term long COVID and you assume it's something with the virus, but it's more your immune system's reaction to it. And I was just all out of sorts, and it just took a long time to figure out why. I had a lot of help, a lot of different doctors. Doctors in Vancouver were great trying to help me, and ended up being a couple local guys around home that were able to help me out. And yeah, it's just been a long road, but like I said, I'm happy, first and foremost, to be back to being a normal dad again, and normal husband again, and get my life back. And then once that happened, I kind of decided I want to try to play, give it another shot. So here we are.
So is it all in the past? Like you have to worry about getting COVID again and how your body would react to it at that point?
No, it's kind of a little different than that. It's not quite as simple as that, but it's no, there shouldn't be any issue. It's again, I feel like over the last month, still every day, every week, I just feel better and better. So I'm still working through some things, but I'm able to compete, to work out hard, and it's not really holding me back at all. So.
You talked to Jonathan Taves about his experience.
Yeah.
Trying to compare notes.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good to talk to him. He reached out to me about a year ago, and at that point, maybe a year and a half ago, at that point, I didn't know what was going on. And hearing his take on it kind of gave me a bit of insight. And we had some a little bit different, but very similar immune system stuff. And, you know, to know what he's feeling like, hopefully he's feeling better now. I'm not sure what his status is, but yeah, it's not fun, but it was nice to have someone to talk to. And it's happy he reached out. And we've kind of kept in touch over the last year and a half, just kind of see how each other's doing. Hopefully he's feeling better and better.
Don't necessarily know where all this leads to, but you think about that time where you felt like the game was slipping through your fingers, and now to be out here skating around, it's been a long journey, but how does this kind of feel to be trying to recapture some of this? And just get out there again?
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, you think about where you worked years ago, it's just horrible. And where you are now, it's a huge change. And I think even last winter, I started skating with the Rebels and Red Deer again, and just getting back on the ice, getting back in the room with, even though the junior kids, it was just kind of felt that still a little fire inside that still wants to try it, and just wasn't quite ready to let my career end on those terms. And I'm just proud I got back to the point I'm at now. And like I said, we'll see what happens, but I'm feeling good and I'm hungry to play. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
There's Brandon Sutter. The whole
well, I
interview
think,
will be up at Jason.
I guess like any dad would be first and foremost, get your health figured out. And once I kind of made the switch 2 years ago, I was so stressed about hockey when I first started.
You know, had their immune system with after getting COVID. So hopefully you're doing all right, and you can find a way through it, similar to how Brandon Sutter did. Have yourselves a wonderful night. We'll see everybody at the 1440 little Klein party later tonight. So that should be loads of fun. On behalf of Connor Halley, Declan Kruger, Brad Slater, I'm Jason Gregor. If you missed anything, go to the podcast or jasongregor.com and get all of the interviews there. Let's get to the Conman Sports Center update, brought to you by eWell, that gives you more than premium quality electrical products. If you're ready to elevate your projects, contact eWell to discuss how they can partner with your success. EWEL.ca. Good night. Here's Connor Halley.
Week 3 in the NFL kicks off tonight as the Giants head to San Francisco, taking on the Niners. That one gets going in about 20 minutes. You can join Brandon Douglas at the Fort Saskatchewan Canadian Brewhouse for a chance to head to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. For the fantasy football players out there, Niners receiver Brandon Ayuk not expected to play with a shoulder injury. Tough news for the Dallas Cowboys is all-pro cornerback Trayvon Diggs tore his ACL in practice today. He'll miss the remainder of the season. Major League Baseball, the Jays in action out in New York. Not a great start for the Bluebirds. They trailed the Yankees 3-0 in the top of the fourth. Elsewhere, Braves have a 5-0 lead over the Nationals in the third. Scoreless in Cleveland between the Guardians and Orioles. Pirates and Cubbies also scoreless. Phillies and Mets tied at 2 apiece. That one's in the bottom of the second. 2 games to come tonight. Tigers take on the Athletics at 7:40. Then at 8:10, the Dodgers hosting the San Francisco Giants. As for finals, the Rays get past the Angels 5-4. And it was the Brewers blanking the Cards 6-0. We're off for the day. Kevin Karras and Brandon Douglas back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. with guest host, former CFLer Eddie Steele.
This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Some things just work together. Sticks and Pucks.